This week in our Elite 8 roundup, we're taking a trip to sunny Daytona, Florida for the CEO tournament. Looking at the IPS standings, Twiggy's guaranteed to be in the finals, but Gross, Sonic Fox, Biohazard, and Samij all have a chance here to really make some points happen. So our first match was Tweety versus Biohazard, and Tweety went with Dr. Fate against Biohazard Starfire, and Starfire really struggled to get in on the zoning from Dr. Fate. Tweety would take the first couple games pretty convincingly. He tried to go to Black Manta, but Black Manta again struggling to get in against Dr. Fate. He tried all he could, but Tweety here with a smart whiff punish is going to take that, put Biohazard in the losers, and he's going to move on to winners finals. The next match is Gross and Samij. And Samij here really using Catwoman's back two incredibly effectively. He's got Black Adam low in life. It's a low-risk move to do, and he catches him out of a back jump there. Excellent work. And that worked pretty well for the first two games, and in game 3 here, you see Samij is going to have him at low life again, and that back two again, hits it twice, takes him out, puts him in losers, Samij in winners finals as well. Now in losers, Tekken Master and King had a wild match that had everything going right for King. Look at that amazing evade on that back two Stardust, and an amazing offensive sequence that leads to him taking the first game. In the second game, it looks like he's down. There's no way he can avoid the chip from Starfire, but it doesn't come out, and he manages to take the second game as well. Even the third game, in the corner, lands a big combo, and look at this conversion. Great use of his meter. And Starfire pushes him out, but misses on the grab, and King takes it. Tekken Master is eliminated. Sonic and Biohazard also played losers. Sonic's Michelangelo was doing a lot of work, had Bane down. Bane Venom's up, though. He's got one chance, and he nails it, and somehow that dive kick doesn't kill him, leaves him with 0.1% of life, and Biohazard is so happy. Sonic goes to Red Hood. Doesn't work, though, and Biohazard is able to take him out, and look at Biohazard going on the second rope, having a good time, enjoying his big win over Sonic, who takes home at 5th. Gross and King also played in losers, and Gross went with Aquaman, and look at this great meter burn back 3 punish. It's just the story of this match is that King couldn't get anything started against this Aquaman. Very difficult. Right here, he's going to try to avoid that last from the deep, but he doesn't. King is eliminated. Gross moves on. Our winners finals was Tweety versus Samij. Tweety was at a life deficit at first, but look at how he manages to come back just using the strength of Starfire's projectiles. Great work. Samij, however, answered back with his own offensive flurry. Look at this corner control right here. Takes one game, puts it on the board, but Tweety's not going to be denied. He's going to read this backdash with a great meter burn back 3. Pretty much seals the deal with Chip. That's almost guaranteed. He's going on to grand finals. Biohazard and Gross played again in losers. Gross looked like he really had this on this matchup down. He didn't really struggle at all in this first match. Takes it pretty convincingly. However, in the second match, it's a little bit closer. And right here we see Biohazard with an incredibly smart wake-up uppercut takes that game. The momentum really shifted to Bio here. In the second game, Gross couldn't do anything. Look at this near perfect he had. He found one gap and he supered, but look how much life he took for doing that. He's going to hit a quick restart in a second and restart this match. And then in the final match here, a stuffed wake-up on Black Adam, and look how much life he just lost, and he loses another big chunk right there. Biohazard moves on to losers finals to play Samij. These guys have played a lot before online, but notice here, Catwoman's meter is so much here that Bane cannot clash. If he were to clash, he would lose it. Samij knows that and then uses all that bar to force an unclashable situation. Really, Biohazard couldn't get anything started. He's trying to be very cautious here in his approach, but he makes one mistake. Samij makes him pay for it, uses a lot of bar here to do as much damage as he can, and finally uses that cloth interactable to take it, puts him back in grand finals against Tweety. He's got 6 games to win. Everyone wondered if he could do it. Right here, it looks like he has Tweety on the ropes, but Tweety making a pretty substantial comeback. But a great meter burn dash read from Samij, and he's in, and he takes some damage. He takes the first 2 games. In game 4 here, great read on the meter burn back 3, and Samij is going to reset that bracket. We're now in a 3-0 winner-take-all situation. Right here, Samij got Tweety right where he wanted in the corner and kept him there. And right here, Tamaranian charge couldn't get him out that time, but in the next game it would work, and it gets that Tamaranian charge out. Right there, uses the zoning to beat down Samij again, but can't fool him twice. Right there, stuffs the Tamaranian charge, or punishes it, I should say, and then Tweety is down on the ropes. In the corner again, he could not escape Samij, and that was all she wrote. Right here, he's going to try and finish this combo, and that's all he needs to take the match. He's going to chip her out with a meter burn back 3.
Samij wins CEO 2018.
Samij and Tweety now guaranteed for the IPS finals. See what happens at the next tournament. Hello again, and welcome everyone to the Slips and Hippo show. I'm King Hippo.
Slips,
freshly drunk.
yeah.
So, We were a little late this week. We knew we were going to be. We were taking a little bit of vacation. I think old Slips went out on vacation for the weekend.
I did a float trip. I did like the Missouri life.
Missouri life.
Went out and I did some camping. Did some kayaking down the river. Did some floating down the river. Almost drowned. But
really?
Yeah, that was kind of scary for a second.
The true Italians can't swim?
I can't swim very well.
All right.
I was swimming across the river, which is dangerous.
A foolish mistake, yes.
And I was about like halfway, and then there was like an undercurrent, and I didn't really notice, and I just kept swimming, and I wasn't going anywhere. And I was starting to get tired, and no progress was being made. I was like, "What the hell's going on?" So I like had scrambled back, and I pretty much made it. And like a friend saw, I was like breathing pretty heavy.
Did someone have to stick the oar out so you could hold on to it?
I don't know the oar, but I got some assistance. But I was just like, Jesus, what the hell was that? I almost fucking died.
Life vest will help in the future.
Oh, for pansies.
Floaties.
What am I, a child?
It sounds like it. There are a lot of white people that can identify with your kayaking life.
I can kayak pretty good,
right.
But I don't know, swimming maybe not.
Yeah, maybe you need to work on that. Well, anyways, it's good that you did not attend CEO because we were in sunny Daytona, Florida, right on the beach. A lot of swimming going on. I say sunny Daytona, Florida. Daytona actually kind of sucks, and I think a lot of people actually found out this weekend, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into CEO.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, we're CEO went down this past weekend. Justice was Friday, Saturday. Decent amount of attendance. I got the list right here in front of me.
120 or something like that?
160.
Oh, damn, that was more than I thought.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last week we went over our predictions for the pools. Suffice to say, most of them panned out. There was only a few that I think we didn't call, which I guess would be the noticeable upsets. So what did you notice, when you were looking through the pools? What were some of the upsets that you remember seeing?
Well, the obvious one was Slayer losing to a girl.
Oh, God.
Come on, bro. You can't be talking shit on females and then like they ain't shit, and then you lose to one. Like, damn.
Oh man, did you see the match too?
It was super close.
It was. I can tell you exactly what happened. Here's what happened. Slayer's up probably a game or so, and he drops one game, and he was freaking out. He's thinking, I know what I just said on Twitter, and I can't I can't go down like this. But then, of course, when you're panicking, because if you look at that last game they played, it was close.
Started flailing.
He's flailing around, running every move possible. And that's not to downplay Infinity's play, which was a big step up from what we're used to. Because he usually plays Catwoman, so I was just surprised at the Starfire pick. But my guess is he was down a game and he just freaked out. And obviously that never leads to good play. She was in his head from the start.
What? Where is she from?
So she and King lived together in Florida, I believe.
Oh, really?
I believe so.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So King got her pretty well prepared then.
It must be.
King lives in Florida now?
I mean, he's a nomad. One day he's here, one he's the next day here. I don't know.
Huh.
I know he used to be from Ohio, so.
I mean, the worst thing you can do against Starfire is lose her cool.
Yeah, I mean, and that's...
She's designed to destroy people who just want to just run around all day.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I was impressed by the most was probably that she was calling out, like, his blatant empty jumping and, like, neutral jumping. She would do forward 2 on him, which you don't see a whole lot because it's kind of a slower move. It's not something you really throw out all that much. But she was doing it pretty successfully, so I was impressed by that. And, I mean, Slayer, it is what it is. I mean, I think the weirdest thing about the Slayer thing was, because obviously on Twitter that blew up, right? And then, obviously people were giving him shit for it, and rightfully so for the most part. But then you had a lot of people like, oh, they were trying to like defend him because it's like, oh man, I mean, I can't remember who it was. One of these NRS top guys was like, come on guys, he's a top 8 monster. It's not like he's terrible, but I thought about that and I'm like, top 8 monster, not for like a year. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like the dude is like, it's not like he's Samij here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Slayer, like I've said this before, he's more of like, I feel like he just goes crazy. He just goes ham. He just overwhelms you with just craziness. Right,
and that has its payoffs and it has its not so good payoffs. And
yeah, and I think that's a play style that's more beneficial early on when people's defense aren't quite as good. And now that people's defense are better, and you got more patient players that are willing to like sit back and let him just kind of hang himself. His year 2 is a little harder for him. I think that's been the case for a lot of his career.
I think so too. The year 2, the year 2 is where he's trying to find his footing, and sometimes he'll get it back, and then sometimes he won't. So it's like, again, the beautiful thing, we've talked about this about fighting games, is that you're never truly gone.
Right.
There are always chances at redemption. So it's not the end of the world. I mean, I'm not going to be a dick like Wolfcrone, who posted a video on Facebook and was like, if you lose to a girl, is it the end of your career? I'm not going to be, yeah. I don't, huge shocker, Wolfcrone being a cock on Twitter, but.
I'd probably be done. I'd be done.
You think you'd be done?
I'd be like, oh, wow.
Don't be sexist, Slips. Come on. This is 2018. Well, I mean, so obviously that was the big one. And since we talked about it, I mean, we almost called it, to be sure. How can you not point it out? It was hilarious. The Schadenfreude, I imagine a bunch of people are feeling, is tremendous. That wasn't the only upset, of course. You noticed a couple others.
I thought there was one. This is the thing with these pools. They were so stacked. A lot of them weren't really upsets.
Yeah, it was more of just like someone's got to lose,
Yeah, it was like Mystery Bot didn't make it out of his pool, and I thought that was crazy. And then I looked, I was like, Illusions
losers finals to Illusions. Yeah, I think it was like real close. Like he was close,
Yeah, so it's just like, damn, that's kind of shitty. And then White Boy not making out and Big D making out in front of him. That's an upset.
That is an upset. I think that's an upset any way you slice it.
I didn't know Big D even played the game.
I wasn't even sure myself. And I don't want to rank on White Boy too much. If you could see in the pools, he's no longer sponsored. As far as I understand, he's sort of on his way out anyways. So I imagine he's not caring too much, and that's fine. Not here to criticize that, but I think that probably leads into the play. And I think Big D plays Poison Ivy. And don't quote me on that.
Really?
Yeah, again, I'm remembering from last year's CEO, so, it's been a year, so don't quote me on that, like I said. But, that was definitely one of the bigger, probably, the upsets.
He got a girlfriend.
Who's that?
White Boy.
Oh, yeah, he lives with her.
Women make you weak in the knees.
All right, so this has been the incredibly sexist Slips and Hippo show. We will be canceled after this episode, so savor it while it lasts.
That's fine.
It's your fault, man.
No,
had a
good
thing. No, it's not good.
No, I'm talking about White Boy.
Oh yeah, I'm happy for her. But and she's a very nice girl.
Right.
I never met her. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I was surprised Shark Teeth didn't make it, but his pool was tough. He looked pretty good at Combo Breaker, and it's just someone, you get that pool and it's tough.
Who made it out in front of him?
So he that pool had Honeybee and Silver Eye come out, and then Forever King Jr. Burrito Voorhees.
Yeah. So it's probably between Burrito Voorhees and Shark Teeth.
Well, he got fifth, so he Too Easy was there too.
Really?
Yeah.
So Too Easy beat him?
He lost to. Let me read this again. Okay, so that pool was, I read it a little wrong. So what happened was Burrito beat Silver Eye in winners.
Really?
And then Burrito and Honeybee played to get out. And, obviously one went to losers, one went to winners. And then in the losers, Silver Eye beat Shark Teeth and Too Easy to get out in the end.
Huh. Who beat Silver Eye in top 25? Silver Eye lost to Burrito Voorhees, really?
Well, we're gonna have to get into,
upset.
so we're gonna have to get into that. That's actually quite controversial. So we'll move on to top 24. In losers, you'll see if you look at the Smash GG bracket, you're gonna see that Rai beat Illusions, and then Rai beat Illusions, and then Forever King beat Burrito Voorhees to get out.
Okay.
Here's what actually happened. Silver Rai and Forever King sat down to play and finished the set. It was 3-2, and Rai won. Illusions and Burrito played, and it was 2-2. I think it was 2-0, and Illusions was stopped and told the bracket there was a mistake and that they had to stop playing.
What?
And then Rai was told also, you have to replay your match. You were not supposed to play King. You were supposed to play Illusions.
What?
So they replayed, and Illusions was eliminated by Rai 3-1.
Okay.
And King beat Burrito 3-0.
Okay.
So there was a big bracket mix-up, and King was actually eliminated, and then he wasn't.
Weird.
That was a thing that happened. Yeah.
Very weird.
And King made top 8.
Wow.
Yeah. So even as we're getting to the peak of like tournaments and TOs being better at things like this, it still happens, where these big mistakes happen, and it's terrible for Illusions. It's terrible for Silver Eye. It shouldn't happen, but what are you gonna do?
I'm still surprised Burrito Voorhees beat Silver Eye. I wonder. I was on a float trip. I didn't see it. I didn't hear about it. So that's pretty crazy. Huh. Who the hell did he use, I wonder?
Yeah, I heard you were on a float trip.
I was.
Oh, okay.
Burrito Voorhees. I mean, he uses Brainiac. He couldn't have used Brainiac. That's just weird. Huh.
Yeah, I don't know I actually don't know. So.
Well, that makes me wonder who beat Silver Eye in top 25. A little pandering here. Anyway, we'll get more to it. What else do we got?
Well, so some of the other matches that happened, Buffalo beat a Foxy Grandpa in top 24 immediately. So Foxy, I'm not really surprised. Yeah, that's not really that surprising.
Buffalo's good.
Yeah, and we've mentioned that Foxy's attitude is towards this game in particular is probably less than good for actually doing strong in brackets.
Right.
So I wouldn't really that surprised. We had Biohazard beat Deoxys in winners to advance to top 8.
Biohazard's been playing really, really strong. Like
Sonic
he's
lost,
hungry.
Yeah, Sonic lost 3-2 to Samij. Just got Samij into top 8. It was a very close set.
That was a really good set.
Yeah, it was really close.
That was weird. Sonic Fox mirrored him the first game and
he
won.
did. He picked Catwoman, won that first game, and then lost the next one. And then he switched to God, who is he playing?
I think he switched to Red Hood, and then Samij won that one. And then he went to...
I think he used Red Hood both times.
Was it?
I think so, yeah.
He might have threw in some Captain Cold, too.
Oh, no, here's what it was. It was Catwoman, and then Cold, and then Red Hood.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, his Cold got worked, which was kind of strange.
Well, people have been figuring that matchup out. He was the only Captain Cold.
That's true. I mean, and that was a long time ago where he was just like washing over people who played Catwoman with Captain Cold.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think people are hip to that.
They're hip to that jazz.
They're hip to that. I think that's the thing. One of the things. I think Sonic Fox's greatest strength is the fact that he can pick up a character, an obscure character, and just play them at the highest level at any moment. And he usually has a squad. You saw him bust out Michelangelo, too.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of Michelangelo, yeah.
So it's like between all the weird characters that he plays at the highest level, like when you're playing against his Michelangelo, you're probably playing against the best Michelangelo. Mm-hmm. When you're playing against his Captain Cold, you're probably playing against the best Captain Cold. When you're playing against his Red Hood, you're probably playing against suddenly the best Red Hood you've ever played. And all that is pretty overwhelming. And that's how I think he's just so consistent with it. But
I think that helps a lot.
But I think as the game gets older and people are just not as surprised by the stuff that he pulls out on people anymore, and then he becomes mortal after that. It's like, oh shit, like he goes through progressions and like reactions is almost the same as everyone else does, like any other top player. And then he just becomes mortal after that.
It's like his heel's been exposed.
I guess so, yeah. It's just like, oh, we've seen all the bullshit.
Yeah.
And now you're playing on our field, our level.
And then I would say some other fun things that happened. Rewind ended up being Silver Eye.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, and that's a thing that could happen. So not surprised.
Yeah. King Gambler made it out to top 24. He lost to Gur. And Hayate lost to Gur too. So Hayate was there.
Adam's good, man.
Yeah, and Hayate is a strong player, but has been inconsistent throughout the whole game. Sometimes he'll make as high as top 3, but then other times he's not even making top 8. He's just in top 16. So he's been a little inconsistent. Not that he's not good, but it's tough out there.
Who knocked him in losers?
Hayate?
I think it's
Hayate?
Yeah.
He was in the pool that had Scar, I believe, and Scar put him in losers.
Really?
Yes.
I think it's weird. I guess it's Robin. Like
he did beat Buffalo though, so he's the one put Buffalo losers. So
he's good, yeah. But I don't know. It's tough.
Well,
Robin,
I think with Robin has a real weakness too, because he has really no way around projectiles or any sort of ground based keep out tactics. So against like Adam, who that's what he does. I imagine Robin's just trying to dash in, trying to meter burn dash, trying to get that battering out. But, if you're squirming a lot against Adam, you're just going to lose a lot of life.
He's really got to cash in on his reads. Like, he's got to get in, and he's got to put the pressure on, and then people have got to get out. Because he'll just be on you, because that's Robin.
Yeah, because he's safe, on most of the things he does.
Yeah, and
you have to poke at a gap, because eventually because a lot of times they'll do down 1-2 into the uppercut with the sword, and there is a gap there if he tries to meter burn to make it safe. But not every character can take advantage of it as much as some. And then sometimes he'll go for 2-1-2, and that has a big gap in it too. So I think with Robin, the other problem is that when he is in even, there's gaps in his. And Adam, I remember I looked into this not too long ago. Adam on most things, like he goes into block strings in, like if he goes into that swoop move where he jumps up in the air. Adam, if he does trait on reversal, can like go under and punish a ton of that stuff. So
I could see that.
That might be something. I don't know how familiar Gur is with the matchup, but clearly he knew what he was doing. Some other things that happened. Tekken Master beat Buffalo in losers. Tekken Master and Sweetie, again, did not get to play. Yeah. Even though they were both in top 8. Deoxys lost 3-0 to Tekken Master 2.
That's surprising,
He was upset about that. You could tell. He did not like 9th. Tekken Master is another one. I don't know if it was. If it was, I didn't see it.
There were so many great matches, it feels like, that we just didn't get to see.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Tekken Master is kind of like a Sonic Fox Light, where it's like he's not quite as good as Sonic, but he does have that rotating wheelhouse of characters that he's pretty decent with. You could be Brainiac, you could see Green Arrow, you could see Batman, you could see Starfire.
Very strong fundamentally.
Well, yeah, he's good at like I said with Sonic, taking up the basics of a character and probably being one of the better versions of that character. Scar lost 3-0 to King. Scar is. It
was weird. Scar never. It was Brainiac versus Batman. He never got off Brainiac.
Nope.
Which was surprising. Like, he's got a really good Supergirl. Isn't that pretty good against Batman?
I don't know. I don't think people think Supergirl's good anymore. I know Deoxys put out a tier list where she was like close to bottom 10.
Maybe. I don't know.
That's another weird one where I don't want to get into it too much, but like she had one change that made her now from killing the game good to not good, which clearly something's amiss. I don't want to get into it too much, obviously. But we'll wait for that for later. But so our top 8 ended up being in winners. We had Tweety versus Biohazard and Gross versus Smeege. And then in losers, we had King versus Tekken Master and Sonic versus Honeybee. There were a lot of 3-0s to start. So we had Tweety 3-0'd Biohazard. I think we saw some Starfire mirrors.
Yeah, I mean, that was covered in the video up front.
That's right, yeah. We had a lot of the top 8 kind of recap there. And then Gross and Smeege, again, it was a 3-0. His Catwoman was just looking untouchable, especially against Adam.
Can I get props?
We'll get there. You hold on.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Kayak. And then, of course, we had King and Tekken Master in a wild match. I think you had something to say about that.
Yeah, that is what we considered or I considered, because I did this video this week, and Hippo did the...
Yeah, I did the intro. If you
the intro.
Heard my beautiful voice.
So I picked Tekken Master versus Forever King for our matchup of the week. Here it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Our matchup of the week between Forever King and Tekken Master is CEO Top 8. Game 1, King keeps his cool. Take a look at the life lead that Tekken Master has in Game 1. But every mile starts with a first step, and King gets a big first step with a meter burn roll into a nice conversion and into a nice combo. And he's going to teach us the 3 Ps it takes to make a comeback against Starfire. And the first one is patience. Looks how he slowly walks in, kind of weaves in her footsie range, and then weaves out. Tekken Master doesn't take the bait. Instead, he puts his back to the corner. King senses it, hits him with an up battering, converts with the trait, gets a nice corner combo here, and then finishes it out. And the first life bar. And then the second is pressure. Tekken Master still has the life lead, but King smells blood in the water. He puts Tekken Master in the corner again. Again, he squirms out with a jump, and he hits him with another up battering, gets him off of his clash. And the third is poise. You want to know what it takes to be a top player. You fight till the bitter end. You fight and you enjoy every moment until you see your character lying flat on their face in the end. Here we see Tekken Master just trying to lame him out with chip damage, and he better hope he does, because he's out of trait and he's out of meter. But King survives, and now he's got to try and survive this onslaught that King's going to put on him. Big moment here. King glides over the anti-air, uses a bar meter to get frames, headbutts her in the face, and then another bar meter for more frames, and then Tekken Master just loses it. King pounds in his chest in manly fashion. Welcome to Midas. How may I help you? Well, my name is Tekken Master, and there's something really wrong with my clutch, because he's got a bar meter and trait and he doesn't use it. He just does a little one. He's lucky Forever King drops this combo, and now he's got to try and lame him out. Does a pretty good job. Uses all of his meter here to try and chip him to death, but again, King just lives. Now he's got nothing to worry about. He looks forward, he looks for any sort of movement. He ducks the projectile, releases the bat, and again he tries to lame out King with chip, and he just can't. He won't die. And then game 4, another scenario where King just refuses to die. Another scenario where he's on Magic Pixel, and he just gets a great conversion with the car explosion, down tune to the trait, and then into the vortex. Just an awesome moment in this game where he takes down the first life bar in seeming horrible odds. Another moment where it looks like he's going to lose the life lead, and he uses the corner interactable again. And King was just so clutch. Here he gets a really good down two, really smart to go a jab straight into the grapple to prevent any sort of air escape. He's got to use the bar meter to do a push block, and King just keeps his cool and shows that he's strong in real life, as strong as he is in Injustice 2.
And there you go.
Wow, something else, that match.
I don't know what the hell Tekken Master was thinking.
I mean,
what was he doing?
I don't know, man. A lot of those slides, it's like, man, the slide got it.
The match where he had him in the corner, he hit him with like a down 1 trait, and he didn't use all the trait to finish it or meter burn it, and I was like, what the hell is he doing? What is he doing?
I mean, and with Batman, you can't leave an opening because he does so much damage. or get you in a situation where you just have to guess. You know, it's just like, man, what are we gonna do?
He just got in that match. He got hit by a raw forward 3. It was like
yeah,
it was
raw.
like 1, 2, forward 3, and it was just like, when does that ever hit?
Yeah, I mean,
it wasn't any armored. It was offline. I was like, what?
I don't even know if it crossed up. I don't think it did.
It didn't even cross up. It wasn't even one of those versions. That was wild.
That was crazy.
Wild.
That was a crazy match. King, and we'll get back to it in a second, but King, you know, there was a little trash talk between him and Tweety a little bit before the tournament, talking about how he's washed up and stuff, and I mean, it's a hell of an answer to get top 8 and have a big show-off match like that, you know.
They did have a first to 10, right?
They did after the tournament, yeah, and Tweety won it 10-6. So yeah, I mean, King, you know, like we said, he can be inconsistent, but then sometimes he'll surprise you.
I like King. He's good. I love the way he played against Tekken Master. That's one of the things I don't think people take into consideration is how much defense it takes to be good and how much patience it takes. Especially against like someone who outzones you. And I thought King put that on a very good display. Like, he just sat there. He was like, I'm not giving you any free damage, as little as possible anyway. And he just sat there. He just sat in footsie range. He was like, you come to me now. It's either you come to me or you keep backing up into the corner. Take your pick. Fight me now or fight me in the corner.
Well, I think he knew that as long as he had a bat out and as long as he got to about mid-screen, you know, if he ducked the trade or something like that, he was going to be able to force her to block the bat, which meant he got to move into, you know, his optimal where he wants to be. Mm-hmm. So he knew that he just had to get to a certain spot and then he could start his game up, which, you know, I think you've talked about that using like Leonardo, where there's a sweet spot you want to be and that's sort of where you focus on instead of being like, I have to get all the way in.
Right.
It's like pick a spot and then because it's more doable and it's probably less frustrating, I imagine, too.
Right. You want to pick a spot where if they extend, they're going to whiff. And if you go past that line and they extend and you're forced to block, well, now you're like in their shit. Mm-hmm. So you just want to just stay just like you want to even cross that line just for a brief second to make it look like that you're crossing the line, and then you back out, and then that's when that's footsies. But yeah, like
that's footsies.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But you always gotta look out for, you know, because Starfire's got a lot of bullshit too. Like
she does. Yeah.
She can jump with the air dash, and that's what Tekken Master was doing a lot of. He would just jump, air dash, jump 3, start pressure. But King, patience, defense. That's why I like King. I love his defense. I love it. Good for King.
Well, I don't know about if the kiss was necessary.
It was like one of those things where you know?
Oh, like the Ultra David, like the kiss the fingertips.
Yeah.
I see.
I have no idea where that came from, but as far as the origin of that, but
I see what you mean. I see.
Who started that?
God.
That's a Google thing.
That's the thing. Yeah, throw that in the Google machine. We'll figure that out eventually.
I guess it's just like, yeah, it is kind of kissing it. It's like,
yeah, I mean, that's what I was.
I don't want to kiss Forever King on the lips.
I kind of think you do.
I was going to kiss his playstyle a little bit. That's all.
It's
an intangible. That's why you kiss the fingertips.
I see.
Got it.
Sounds
Figured
like
it out. Whoever came up with that is a genius.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. And then, of course, you know, we had Sonic beat Honeybee, another 3-0. Like I said, Honeybee a lot of times will get there, and then he's out. I don't know if, again, that's the limitations of Flash or...
Did he use Flash against Sonic?
I don't know if he used him the whole time, necessarily.
I know he's been busting out Starfire.
Yeah, we might have seen Starfire. I can't remember off the top of my head. You know, watch our video at the front. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's one of those things. Like I said, I don't know. It's the kind of same thing happens in War of the Gods a lot of the time. He'll make
Him,
top 8, and then he's kind of...
He's. I mean, Sonic is good.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
I can't remember that match. Damn. There were so many matches. There were so many damn matches.
A lot of matches to watch, folks.
Yeah. But yeah, getting 3-0'd by Sonic, and
Happens.
I think he used Michelangelo.
Yeah, I remember Michelangelo coming out for sure.
And if he 3-0'd him, it was all Mikey. Was it really?
Might have been Cowabunga.
Ridiculous. Anyway, I don't know. I think Honeybee just needs to keep plugging away. He's doing fine.
All right.
I think it looks like his flashes. He looks like he's dropping things more.
I do remember that. It wasn't as clean as it normally is.
I think he's dabbing around with these other characters a little too much.
Dabbing?
Man, just pick Flash, man. What matchup that's really giving you that many problems that you're struggling? You know what I mean?
I mean, Lord Cold.
What
That was a bit. I'm just saying, there's like one Captain Cold player.
like I don't know. What character is really blowing up Flash? Like, that's what I don't get. Like, just pick Flash. Use
Yeah.
that defense, use that patience, and use those tools to get in.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those. People say Flash is really good, so I guess might as well stick with him, right?
I think so. That's just me. I mean, the man can do what he wants.
He can, and will. The winners finals was Tweety and Samij, where Tweety took it 3-1, and it looked pretty convincing.
Tweety, Samij is pretty much. This is like when someone beats him, he like figures out what they did to him, and then they can't beat him for God knows how long. This is what it feels like.
Well, yeah, obviously the level. I mean, this is a top level technique, and something you hone over time is the ability to adapt quickly and without remorse. Basically, like it's something Samij is really good at, which is why he's so consistent. And I think we were talking a little bit before the show, and you talked about how he's probably, outside of Sonic, the most consistent player from the beginning of the game. Where he may not win all the time, may not even be top 3 all the time, but you're damn well sure he's probably top 8. And Combo Breaker was kind of
very rarely gets upset.
Yeah, that was more of the
Very
exception.
uncommon.
It sounds like Combo Breaker was the exception, and not like it's a
Right.
sign of him falling off. I forgot to mention earlier. Speaking of people that may have fallen off, but so Theo was supposed to be there. Because CEO was in Daytona, so a lot of flights stopped in Atlanta for a layover.
Mm-hmm.
And Atlanta was a light rainfall, but apparently that shut down the whole damn airport. There was a ton of people stranded in Atlanta that had to rent vans and make the long drive to Daytona.
Jeez, are you serious?
Yeah, it happened to a lot of people, and unfortunately Theo was one of the people caught up in it. He would have had to wait very, very long to get a flight in, like Friday afternoon or something like that. He just said, fuck it, and went home.
Wow.
So that was why there was no Theo there, even though he was in the brackets. Tough for him because the Injustice Pro Series, which of course we ran down at the beginning of the show, there's not that many events.
Right.
And missing out even on one, because he already missed Combo Breaker, so Combo Breaker he did not place. And you miss out on a lot of points, whereas with Samij, it's guaranteed.
Right.
So Samij missed Combo Breaker, but he had a big CEO run, and you have few options to make up points, and it gets really tight if you miss even one. It's pretty brutal because it's short.
It's just Evo and SoCal Regionals left, right?
Well, Viennality, which is
And
this
that-
weekend.
But I mean, that's as far as North America goes, right?
Well, so you have that. There's an online tournament, and then there is the last chance qualifier. So there's, like I said, like you mentioned, there's not a lot of options. So
the
especially
last chance qualifier, is that online too?
no, that is actually I believe like last year it is in like near the E-League facilities in Atlanta.
Really? And you just
Yeah.
gotta go?
You got to go. Last year it happened. That's how Foxy got in, actually.
Really?
And he ended up getting second.
Wow.
Yeah, last chance qualifier is a big deal.
Yeah, it's going to be,
so,
man, people are going to be fighting like
yes. I mean, it was an exciting tournament, to say the least. Like, yeah, it's fun.
People are going to be fighting, dude, like mosh pit, just thrashing.
Elbows, just
biting, clawing.
biting. Yeah, definitely. It's a bloodbath.
That's awesome.
Back to CEO, though. Gross beat King. He used Aquaman. We don't see that often anymore.
Dude,
and deleted
fuck
Forever King.
Aquaman.
Whoa.
God, I hate Aquaman.
This is a family-friendly show. I don't know about this language towards Arthur Curry.
Damn, there ain't no little kids listening to this shit.
There might be. It's probably not. Just say whatever you want. I don't care.
No. Aquaman's good. I get that Starfire probably owns him, but man, he's cheap. I played one online. I was fucking pissed. He's just dumb.
I think
Back 2 is so dumb. I hate Back 2.
It really is. I mean, so I think Aquaman, like I mentioned earlier, like I think Aquaman's like a poor design in the sense of like he's either going to delete characters or he's going to be deleted because he's so extremely polarizing in what he does. Like,
I mean, he's fine. It's just
that's
he's
what
been downplayed for so long.
What I mean is
he's been nerfed. He's trash now.
He's not affecting the game's meta anymore like he was at the beginning. But like I said, I think also it's either he's going to do that where he's just dominating the meta like he was in Injustice 1 and early Injustice 2, or he's just not as relevant because his design is so polarizing. Like, if he can do From the Deep like endlessly on you, you are fucked.
God, he's annoying.
Yeah. And then he's got Trident Rush to back it up, and his damage is now way better than it was.
God,
when
he
got
hurts
nerfed.
so bad.
Yeah, if he lands a back 2,
This fucking Scoop.
prepare Uranus. That's what I mean. He gets a back 2, and I think Scoop always launches for back 3, even if it's like an air juggle.
Yeah.
So, yeah, his damage is pretty good. I mean, it's just the average like 40% or whatever. I think.
His wake ups are good.
Yeah, you've got a few. You've got the Scoop, which I don't think any of them are truly invincible, but obviously you can.
They're pretty hard to stop.
You can fudge the timing on them. That's the thing. And also, Triton Rush hits fast, whereas Scoop doesn't. And then he's got even the water shield is probably not that bad sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
I hate him.
So, like, again, he's probably one where he'll get counterpicked pretty significantly. I've always compared him to, and not just because he has a 100-hand slap move, but a lot like Honda in like an older Street Fighter game, where he's going to delete some dudes just based on how he does tools. But then there's other characters that's just like he's looking the other way, he's drowning. Like at least Starfire is a big one, like you said. Probably like a Poison Ivy type even.
Poison Ivy beats him.
Well, you got to imagine, From the Deep isn't available to him as much because it gets punished with a launching special. And then I think the only advantage he would have is his ground game is probably a little bit better. But, against Poison Ivy where you have to wade in through, like, the monster spitting and all that stuff, I just imagine his game can't get started very much. The only thing I could think of is he could get to a range where he could jump, and his jump 2 is, like, pretty good. And her anti-air's not good. But even then, I bet it's not easy. So, that's probably the only... Like, again, there's probably matchups that he definitely struggles in, but like you said, like against a Ninja Turtle maybe, or a melee character even. Like, I would imagine he does pretty good against Catwoman, even...
You think?
You'd think. I mean, that was one of those deletion level matches in the first Injustice, but obviously now she's a lot better, and he's not as strong, so who knows. But, yeah, it was fun to see him.
I liked it. I thought it was cool when Gross busted him out.
Yeah, because, I mean, it was clean. I mean, you could see Batman just doesn't have a lot to offer, unfortunately.
Anytime you see Batman struggle is kind of fun for me.
Yeah, he was just... All he could do was basically punish a From the Deep with a slide.
And it's not like King was playing it wrong.
No, I mean, it wasn't like it was like totally like, man, it was a 3-0 clean.
There
there
were
some
close.
matches that were close, yeah.
I think King did like one too many slides for like to lose. Like the first 2 games King had, and then he just choked, and then that was just it. Especially that first game, he had it, and then he did like a wake up slide, and Gross did an absolutely disgusting punish. He did like a back 2 into a bounce cancel back 3 into.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh no, that was like a heartbreaker.
Yeah. Yeah, so his run ended there, and then Biohazard beat Fox 3-1. How about that?
That was good.
Yeah.
He used
Bane.
the first match though. He used someone else. Maybe
he may have used Starfire, but
I think he used Starfire.
And then he went to Bane against Michelangelo. And
Right.
I can't remember if Fox, he might have switched to Red Hood, but I think it was Michelangelo most of the time, and that's it's not like he was doing bad, but Bane punishes hard and Mikey is unsafe, if you guess wrong, and that's what we saw a lot of times was
Bane steals games, and he stole a couple of them.
Yeah, I mean, like I put last week in the video where he was match of the week against Samid, like its power is that in 10 seconds the game changes.
Right.
I think that happened in one of the games. Like I honestly believe he was down a lot, and then he was against Michael. He got one clean punish into like a meter back three, and it was over.
Yeah, and there was another game where he was like level 3. He was down to his like a little more than a pixel, and Michelangelo had a nice little chunk, and anything would have killed Biohazard, and Sonic did like the cannonball thing, and he did Raging Charge, and it didn't have it traded. But the fact that he was at level 3,
I remember that. He did the air dive kick.
He did a little bit less damage, and then
Just enough,
Raging Charge did a fuck ton.
Oh yeah!
It's like, oh my god!
That might have been the last match of the set, because I remember Biohazard getting up and just being like, "Yeah, like how could you not?"
Like, oh, that was such garbage.
Yeah, that's one of those things where it's like, how could you blame the dude for like getting up and yelling about it? Like just for relief's sake, like.
Bane's awesome. He's such a cool character.
So Sonic ended up taking 5th, which he also got in Dragon Ball FighterZ. So
really,
he did, yeah.
See, I haven't kept up on the other shit.
Yeah, he got 5th in DBFZ as well.
Man,
obviously he got 5th, but he's probably not happy about that. I mean, we'll get to it later, but he's not happy about it.
Wow.
So then Biohazard went on to play Samij in losers finals and did not fare as well. Did not fare as good as he did in War of the Gods. He got 3-0'd.
This goes back to what I was saying earlier. So Biohazard 3-0'd Samij a couple weeks ago in War of the Gods.
War of the Gods, yeah, we covered it.
Last week, Samij destroyed him 3-0. And then here again, Samij beat him again 3-0.
He most certainly did.
Like Samij, like you beat Samij, and it's just like suddenly you have his attention, and then you're fucked.
Yeah, at first you had his curiosity, now you have his attention, and you never want his attention on you.
Yeah, so it's weird. Like and the same thing happened to Tweety. Tweety beat him a couple weeks, or like maybe the first week
in our first episode. I think we covered, or second episode. Yeah. I think that was the match you covered where he did beat him.
And then he hasn't been able to beat Samij since.
Yeah, it was 3-1 came up a lot. In grand finals, it was Samij took the first set 3-1, and then grand finals was also 3-1, where Samij just had looked like a monster. Just didn't look like he was going to be stopped.
Catwoman.
Yeah, I mean Catwoman. Is there more that you can do?
No.
How many times has that character been nerfed?
I think she's perfect right now too.
I've seen a lot of people.
Samij is just that good with her.
I've seen a lot of people complain about how much advantage she has after the whip ender, but I mean, like, yeah, it's annoying, but it's like, what other knockdown is she gonna do?
Who cares? Like, just play some damn defense. Like, it's not that. I think she's cool because she's a cat. She's Catwoman.
No shit.
And she's probably got the best backdash in the game.
Oh, bar none.
So it's just funny. Like, so she plays the role of a Catwoman pretty well. Like, she's evasive. She tosses that whip out a lot. I don't know. Like, when I see Catwoman, when I see Samij, I'm just like, this is Catwoman. I'm like, this is cool. Like, I don't know. I don't think she's busted. I don't see what the big deal is. She's just good. and Samij is really good. It's a footsie based game, and he's just
she's
really
the master,
good.
the mistress, I guess.
It's not like she's the only one that can play really good footsies. There's a shit ton of them. So I mean, you just got to tip your cap to Samij on that. There's not like there's other Catwoman doing it. He's the only Catwoman doing it.
Yeah, I saw, and this is weeks ago, but I remember it was like Star Charger and Ominous were talking on Twitter about how Catwoman solo is like not, like you can't do it. And I pointed out like, the dude's been doing it.
Dude's been doing it.
And then he was like, yeah, but then as soon as, you play a Green Arrow. And I was like, what Green Arrow? Like, again, I think that's one of those things where like, you work yourself into this shoot of like, well, I'm going to run into this bad matchup, so I better have a counter pick just in case. But then it's like, well, you've diverted your time to when you could have just been better, I mean, and just been a little bit better. Like I'm sure it's not like Green Arrow just comes on the screen and Catwoman's like, well, I'm fucked. Like I better just,
right.
And I think the one time we saw that actually happen was I think Tekken Master beat Samij at the grand finals of E-League last year, which again, it is what it is, but it's not something to be concerned about with unless, I mean, I know clearly it's not hurting Samij to just play Catwoman.
Right.
So I don't know why that came into play because clearly it didn't matter. I mean, the one thing we saw, that Catwoman can take advantage of the most is that, she's got so much advantage on that whip, with a 1-1-2 into the whip, and then she dashes forward and she has to jump up and do jump 1. And then her standing 3 is very quick mid that hits twice and then goes into another. You can basically hit confirm it to go into the second hit, which is -1, which is perfect. I mean, that's, she's got a fast starting high move and a quick down one, and her backdash is really good.
Well, I don't think people realize you can roll after the whip too.
You can, so that's what you
sit there.
Yeah, that's what you'd have to do to mess up the timing, or you'd have to do it.
You can't
to
just do the same thing every time. Like he's gonna oh, this person never rolls, so he's gonna go through his whole safe jump shit. And then if you roll sometimes, then he's got to guess on how he's gonna do his safe jump stuff. And sometimes it's better to do a delayed get up, and sometimes it's better to fucking wake up. Like, don't act like you don't got fucking options. Like, it's ridiculous.
Right, and
maybe
I think
Samij is just in your head, and you don't even fucking realize it.
I think a lot of the matches would kind of go down to the point where Samij would get him in a corner, and then he kept doing that. And Starfire's got a great wake up situation for the most part, but every time the jump 1 beat the
jump 1 is definitely an option that shuts a lot of her.
It beat the Shuriken. It beat the.
God forbid if a Starfire actually has to just block for a second.
I mean. Well, the nice thing, I think Tweety eventually started catching on too, is like he would wait for the 3-1 to come out, and then Starfire's got a really fast down 1.
Mm-hmm.
So then he would just do that a few times, and that was faster than any of Catwoman's options at that point. Because once you get to a certain point, Catwoman, it's not like she can stop you walking back unless she goes for the low whip, because her back 1, which is obviously a low starting string, but the range is very, very short. Like you got to be right up in their grill to actually start it.
Right.
But it did not matter, just the jump 1 over and over again. And Catwoman's damage is very high, so if it paid off big. And I mean, obviously, Samij's conversions are on another level too. He can hit snap you out of the air with maybe a back 2 or something, and then go right into 1-1. Like he'll know exactly what he needs to do to make sure he lands the cat dash meter burn.
Yeah, he'll do a down 1, sees that it catches you jumping on the way up, and then do like a couple of jabs and convert it to a meter burn cat dash into a back 3 off of a down 1 that hits airborne. Like he's been doing that since Mortal Kombat X. Like that's not a Catwoman thing.
His Molina
was
really good at that.
Thing. Like I don't know how the hell he does that, honestly. But
it takes a lot of it's something that you can probably you can do it in training mode, but the fortitude to do it in grand finals, and obviously with Catwoman, at least her moves, are fast.
Mm-hmm.
But it's impressive. It's very impressive, and I think that is what turned the tides. Obviously, I do. Obviously, Tweety didn't play like shit either. I mean, he did the best he could. He obviously had a good game plan going, but sometimes he would just. It was like in that when you covered it in War of the Gods. Sometimes he just overextend himself once, and that was enough. Sometimes he'd get the meter burn back 3, but he just was slightly out of range, and he'd pounce.
I wish I would have saw Superman against Samij.
A lot of people would say that Superman does pretty poorly in that match.
Why? What's the big deal?
Well, I would just imagine that, obviously
it's not like meter back 3 was it's not the same. So I mean, he can hit that now.
He can, but I would also say, like with Superman, obviously his mid-range game is the strongest part of his game, but Catwoman's is, I would argue, equally as good, maybe something a little bit better. And then obviously, the lasers just don't come into play, which I think is the one thing that sucks. Because Superman obviously wants the laser game to be a big part, because just working in against that, it can be difficult. But against
He's got
Catwoman,
that mobility though. He's got the He's got the air dashing and shit.
Yeah, but even then, all she has to do is react with that.
The air lasers are part of his footsies.
Yeah, but all she has to do is react with the slip, the parry. Which
it's obvious the lasers aren't going to do shit like full screen and maybe not even 3/4 screen, but during footsies though, between air, like that's Superman. He's going to jump back. Maybe he'll dash forward. Maybe it's just a normal jump. Maybe he does a jump fucking air laser. Maybe he does a jump back air dash backwards laser. Like his mobility is so fucking good. I don't know. I feel like Tweety's just trying to lame him out with Starfire, and it's just like Samij is too good for that. And I think Tweety is good. Like I think Tweety is just as good as Samij, and he should just step up to the plate and be like, "I'm gonna fucking beat you like a man. I don't need to get this silly chip damage shit."
I think that's Starfire though. Like I think Catwoman is not going to be lamed out by any character. There's just no one that I think, with the exception of maybe like Green Arrow, there's no one really who has the right amount of like fireballs and stuff to truly just she can't get in, right? But Starfire, as far as like rushing in and doing a bunch of stuff, it's not like her jump 3 is really good, but it's not like her jump and air dash are like the fastest or the best. I just don't think she has the potentially good offense to really weigh in against Catwoman. Because again, Catwoman, extremely strong, mid-range and on the offense.
I don't know. Maybe. I would have liked to have seen something else, but I'm not the one fucking winning tournaments either, so I'll shut the fuck up now.
Well, don't shut the fuck up too much, because I do have to give you props, because you called it last week that Samij would win.
I did call it, yeah.
Yeah, and I said Sonic, and I was pretty wrong on that. So we will give you props.
All right.
I don't have a belt to give you or anything, but
nah. I mean, outside of if Sonic Fox wasn't born, if his parents were evil and like aborted him or something,
whoa,
and he was never around, like Samij would probably be the best.
Okay, well, thank God for not aborting. Jesus. I never thought that's something I never thought I would have to say.
Thank God for not
aborting someone. Like, thanks. I'm glad you put that out there. Now that's God, we're gonna get canceled. So
Samij, congrats, Samij. Like,
congrats.
It took us a while to actually get to that point.
To get a roundabout way of saying congratulations to you. So this is actually the first major he's ever won.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah.
That's wild because these War of the God tournaments, these online tournaments, are stacked as fuck, and he's won so many of them. And to be like, oh, this is his first major, and it's just like, dude, how many majors like would have been considered that online?
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, he gets second and third a lot, or he might get like the bottom half of top 8, but he's always the bridesmaid. Mm-hmm. Now he's got it, so he's got that belt. And
it doesn't look like anyone is getting close to him either.
I don't know what it is about CEO, but Florida always wins.
Really?
It's like Zod. I always win. Like last year.
He's from Florida?
Won. He is, and last year White Boy won
it. A shit ton of players.
They do, and last year White Boy won it, and the year before that, I think it.
Why do they have so many players?
They just do.
They have like fucking everyone. They got White Boy. They've got growth.
Well, he doesn't live in Florida.
Well, he used to.
He did, yeah. He lives in Texas.
Who else is from there? Too Easy.
Katana Prime.
Katana Prime is from there.
I'm like I said, I'm pretty sure King lives there now. So
that's wild. Huh.
Yeah, there's a lot of players from that area. That's a very well-populated area.
Okay. All right.
So, obviously, aside from that tournament, we had the King Tweety Money match that happened not too long after the tournament ended. It started out with Dr. Fate versus Batman, and then King kind of took those pretty clean, and then Tweety went like on an 8-1 run to win it with Starfire.
No shit.
Pretty convincing, yeah. I think it was recorded on Periscope, which is like a cell phone app, so it's up there somewhere. You can watch it.
What's the deal with Starfire? Is she really that dumb? What do you think?
Well, I think it's a
lot of Starfires lately.
A lot of Starfires.
The CEO has proven us anything. The CEO has a history.
It does.
Just showing us the dumbest, cheapest characters.
It always has that reputation.
To Tanya, to Deadshot, to Alien, like
to Lord Alien, yeah. Yeah,
every CEO, it's like a character gets blown up out of proportion about how broke they are, and a lot of the times it's right. And this time it looked like it was Starfire galore.
Yeah, we saw
maybe not as much as like the past. But there was definitely a lot of Starfire.
Well, we saw her come out a lot, but I think it was actually really only Tweety winning with her. It was kind of like when Scorpion was in the top 8s and Injustice 1. We saw him a lot, but he wasn't winning the matches.
That's true. That's a very good analogy.
Yeah. So there is that. But I think what it is obviously Starfire from the very beginning she was released was strong.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of people that seemed to think otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Just because her down one didn't connect into background bounce. I mean, literally that was a talking point. Not against the really good people, but you saw that as a lot of like the kind of mid-level to lower level player. Like, oh, she can't get much damage.
The anal players.
Yeah, because they nerfed her damage too. Like off back two, she used to do hella. She used to be able to do down one into the orb that launched.
So really?
Yeah, that used to when she was first released. She could do down one into it was the starburst. Or the Stardust, but the meter burn. So she's able to connect that, yeah.
I didn't
back
know that.
three. Her damage off meter burn back 3 was ludicrous. It was like Half-Life. It still is really high. It's just not as high as So her damage used to be nuts, and in that form, she was probably as strong as she'll ever be. Then she got toned down a little bit. Her down one didn't connect to the meter burn. Her damage went down. And then she just was off the radar. Like, not a lot of people used her. You would see her on occasion. I remember Biohazard's been using her for a long time. He used to use her, actually, as a counterpick against White Boy, his Scarecrow.
Huh.
Because Scarecrow's someone whose mobility isn't so good, so he can't really maneuver around it. But a lot of people thought she was just that counterpick character. Then, she obviously got a new round of buffs where her forward 2 grab, that became an actual grab.
Mm-hmm.
So now crouching, because the second hit's an overhead, but now standing to block the overhead, you'd get thrown. You can still crouch to throw, but you get thrown a lot. It's not a whole lot of damage, but it's annoying. Her backwalk speed got increased, which is probably the biggest thing that helped.
Right.
And then I think down one into background bounce worked again. Again, I don't think it was a huge win, but either way, I think what ended up happening was people learning that you have to be on point to start interrupting strings into Stardust into trait, and that does a ton of chip. It does Aquaman Trident Rush levels of chip.
And it pushes back.
And it pushes way back. So there's that. Then there's that just in general, this is Injustice, and we can talk about this later because it's probably going to come up, but there is nothing to stop you from moving backwards.
And that backwalk speed, yeah.
So, and now that her backwalk speed is real good, she's going to be moving back a lot, and she has fast normals to start to go into combos. Not to go into combos because there's only a few moves that go into that meter burn orb now. So it's not like she's doing combos necessarily, but she is doing chunks of damage, big chunks at the same time. So you've got and the trait is also hard to react to. It's a high hitting move, but it's really fast. So when people are trying to move in, and you're trying to just kind of tap down on occasion, sometimes you just whiff it, right? And you get hit by it.
You can't jump it. That's the thing. Like,
you can't jump it either because you can hold it.
If she does trait and she saws that you jumped it, you're gonna get hit.
She saws that you jumped it.
Yeah, she sees you jumped it. She hits the button. She sees you're airborne. You're getting hit. She's gonna unload the whole thing. Probably use a bar meter burn it. You're gonna eat a nice fat chunk of life, and you're gonna be back to full screen. And then she's gonna be annoying you with normal shots and stuff. So you always got to walk your way in, and so she's constantly building meter, and so you're constantly eating those little Stardust things. So she just gets a lot of cheap fucking damage, and I get it. Like, she is cheap. And then once you get in footsie range, her footsies are good. She's got air dash. Her jump 3 just fucking pretty much beats everything.
Yeah.
Her forward 2 is good. Forward 2 grab is good. The thing is with the forward 2 stuff, like, yeah, you can uppercut it or down 1 it. It's kind of like, Black Adams. But then her forward 3 just blows up anything. Like, you kind of
about the same range too, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you kind of have to just throw out your down 2 or your down 1 or whatever it is that you're trying to beat that forward 2 with. And if you do that, she can do meter burn forward 3 or maybe even a raw forward 3. And then, it's like, well, how do I beat forward 3? Well, you can't really whiff punish it because it's so fucking huge.
Yeah.
So you gotta jump at her. And if you're jumping at her, then, you're falling in line with her back too. And her footsies are just really fucking good. She's got really good offensive options. She's got really good defensive options. Her down 1's really good. And then she's got that one string where she kind of twirls her legs around. Like, that thing's annoying. And
that's 2-1, I believe.
Yeah, and that kind of sets up more starburst damage into trait, into pushing back with a shit ton of chip, and of course, how do we forget the fucking Tarmarian charge? If that thing is dumb.
That's one of the biggest. Yeah, that's one of the biggest changes. I think people started to understand that you can just do that when you're sort of slightly negative or even slightly positive, and
it's really dumb.
It's not invincible by any means. It's just the way it moves.
It's evasive. It's like she immediately goes up. So when you're at say I'm plus 2 or 3, and I want to use those frames, I'm going to be doing a down 1. Well, her Tarmarian charge goes straight up. It looks like, and it just goes through. It doesn't really go through. It just goes above any down 1, anything that you're trying to, use those frame advantage for. So it's not invincible. It's just highly evasive in those tight frame situations, and you have to respect it. And it's a shit ton of damage if
it's
hits.
25. It's 25% or something like that. It's a big chunk.
And that's a move that's always been like that.
Yes, there's no change to it that happened. Like I said, that's just more of an advancement of the character. I think people putting more time into her.
Right, and people just realize, this move's fucking dumb, and that move's fucking dumb. Like, if there was that would be something I would change, personally. Because that move's I hate that move. Everyone hates that move. Everyone's got to fight against that move. And it's screen switches too,
so it switches hits on hit.
She can kind of confirm, if it make meter burn and make it safe. That she is dumb, but she can't. You can fight against her. Every character's gonna have every game's gonna have a character where it's just you gotta know how to fight against this character because of XYZ moves.
Right, and I think the other thing
she's one of them. Right? She's one right now.
I think the other thing to remember, because I remember early on, you saw a lot of the forum talk, because again, that's where I hang out the most. The forum talk was Stardust isn't that good because you have to aim it and blah blah. But I don't know if when the people were talking about that, they were mentioning that the fact that Stardust is cancelable to trade.
Yeah.
So basically, what you do is you cover both ways. If the Stardust you throw it and they try to move it, because you gotta once the Stardust is out, you gotta be moving or else you're gonna get hit by the chip of it. But when you're moving, you get hit by that trait because you can't react to the trait coming out. It's just there.
That's the other thing. When she does her normal blast, just a normal high projectile, that's another thing she can kind of cancel in the trait.
Yes.
So it's she'll be full screen or 3/4 screen, and she's doing that thing. And if you see that she's got like her trait, like you're kind of still scared to move because at any point she could just bust that thing out, and then bam, you're fucking full screen again.
Right.
So and then even if you get in, she's got all these. She's got the Tarmarian charge. She's got the DP. She's just got a lot of shit. It's like even when you knock her down, she's got a shit ton of stuff to keep you off of her. She's good, man. She's good.
Oh yeah, her. We didn't even mention that her get up game is like.
Yeah.
It's not every move. The only move that's invulnerable is the hair flip, but just the fact that each one is evasive or hits you out of something in some way.
Yeah, it's kind of it's pretty much a 50-50 on. Is she going to do hair flip, or is she going to do Tarmarian charge, or is she going to backdash, or is she going to do normal delay get up shit?
Right.
But just hair flip and Tarmarian charge alone is tough to deal with.
Because I remember, like, I think it was actually, in fact, I think it was Foxy who was like, "Oh, her wake up's the worst in the game."
That's the dumbest thing. Like she's always had some of the best wake ups.
Yeah, I mean, it was just to me. Yeah, it was just like, well, no, like that's just. I think again, some people just kind of going off their gut instincts and then never looking back into it. Because a lot of people do that because they don't feel they have. And we'll get into this obviously when we're talking about their next subject. But a lot of people probably feel like they don't have the time to do it, so they just don't ever look into it again, which is not a good idea. Shocking, no. I know. We're going off on a tangent here. We'll get back to it because we're going to be talking about something similar to that coming up. But I do want to mention some other fun things about CEO. So CEO normally is in Orlando. In fact, the name of the tournament, CEO, comes from Community Efforts Orlando, if you didn't know that. They moved to Daytona this year because they felt that it better served, because this was a huge, I don't know if you saw it, the event was huge. Like, it was no longer just a ballroom. It was like a separate room just for the wrestling ring, for the entrances. The entrances looked like actual wrestling entrances, from like with a curtain, with a ramp.
That's awesome.
Did you see Infiltration doing Val Venus? That was amazing.
I did see that. That was great. Of all the wrestlers.
Yeah, I was talking about that with someone not too long ago. Like, when you're growing up in the Attitude Era, and there's so many iconic wrestlers from that time: Mankind, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin. A lot of people don't think about Val Venus, but he was there.
He was a good shock like value during the Attitude Era.
Oh, I mean, anytime
he was probably like,
ladies, like you heard that and you're like, oh man, here we go.
Hello,
and
ladies.
And his Titantron was just phallic things going into objects, like. Yeah, like he's coming out of the woods in like a helmet.
You would
with
never
his helmet
see
shaped
that.
like the tip of a penis. Like, just the dude is obnoxious. It was Kai and Tai threatened to cut his penis off. Like, it was just nonsense, right? But the big Balboski was always around.
He was like every segment. He was like getting a blowjob at the very end or something.
Always happened. Yeah, he'd be like, Big Balboski's coming to WWF Raw. Ugh, like his
reaction every time he's about to get head or he's getting head is just like, it's almost like he's like wincing in pants. It's like, ooh.
Yeah, it was very,
like,
it was
like, dude, Jesus Christ.
Dude, he's into it. What are you gonna say? That was a fun part of CEO. We did the entrances. A lot of fun. I mean, King came out, so he's with Infinity, who's a cosplayer. She was dressed as Android 21 from Dragon Ball.
Yeah, that was
and
cool.
They had another one that was Android 21, and he had the Dragon Ball Z shirt, so he came out. That was fun. There was a lot of good, fun entrances. But unfortunately, people were finding out Daytona is a giant shithole. Shocker that the place where the Daytona 500, one of the biggest NASCAR races, happens, is just a giant cesspool of angry white people. But it is. And there was a lot of, I think Silver Eye, in fact, talked about how he got ice thrown at him, people yelling slurs at him. You go into every store, they got the Confederate flag merchandise out the ass. Like, it was controversial. A lot of women felt unsafe walking the streets. Yeah, and unfortunately, CEO appears to have signed a contract to be there for a while, so a lot of people concerned, about what to... And also, I believe that the nearest airport is not near Daytona. It's a long drive out.
That
For
was
a
the
long-
reason I didn't go. It was
Yeah.
just expensive to fly into.
Yeah, like it's not the easiest place to fly into. So a lot of people were, and there's not a whole lot you can do about that. Yeah, unfortunately, people suck in the South. I don't know what to tell you. It's just, I mean, you're from Missouri. What do you think?
I don't know. I wasn't there. Like,
No, not about Daytona, but the South.
the South?
The
What
South.
do you
What do you,
mean?
what do you think about it?
It's the South. I don't know. It's people. Just, I don't know. I don't know what you're trying to get at.
What do you think?
The South?
Yeah.
What are they? A bunch of
To be
racists?
fair-
Is that
to
what
be
you're
fair,
talking? We're going to get
Missouri-
political?
To be fair, Missouri is, you got like the Ozarks, but it's not like exactly like, I'm not, like Alabama levels of South, but I'm just saying, there's a lot of people down there who really believe in this Southern pride bullshit. And apparently they're not shy about telling it to minorities and women. So that was kind of shitty about CEO, I think, because a lot of our top players are minorities. And they didn't feel very comfortable. And I think they said that they're not thinking about returning if it continues to be in Daytona, which is unfortunate, like I said. So something to think about. The other kind of funny thing that happened, I don't know if it's the worst thing in the world, but I will be critical of it. So they had the New Japan Pro Wrestling and CEO through a wrestling show on Friday night. I don't know if you saw, Jabali actually wrestled.
What?
Yeah, on a bum leg. I think he had like Achilles heel surgery or something. He had a big cast on. It's probably not the best idea, but he did win. He went over. So, one of the matches, the prelim matches, was with a fella named Chasen Rance, and Chasen Rance is sort of infamous in at least the Florida wrestling scene, and I know. There's been articles about it. Chasen Rance is a convicted sex offender. He statutory raped a 15-year-old girl. And he worked the show, and some people were critical of that. And Kenny Omega, who is the current heavyweight champion of New Japan Pro Wrestling and seems to have booked the event, he mentioned that, I really do feel bad that people, were offended by that. I don't know the guy that well. I know he helped set up the ring. So Chasen Rance owns a wrestling school in Florida, and he rents out rings, and he has rented out rings to CEO. So Kenny said that I don't really know the guy that well. I should have done my due diligence. But then someone pulled up a photo from 2016 of Kenny, Chasen, and Jabali all posing together. And Jabali said, "Oh, thanks to Kenny Omega for introducing me to Chasen Rance's wrestling school." And people were like, did you lie about it? Like, do you know who this guy is? Because, I don't obviously know everything about, what being a convicted sex offender is, but I imagine you can't work anywhere near children. And CEO does have children. People take their kids there.
How long ago was this?
It was 2010, I think. 2010.
Okay. Did he serve his time?
I believe, I don't know what his sentence was. I believe it was a conviction of, he had to register as a sex offender. Hasn't had a flare up since. At the same time, I think
so that's it then. He paid his dues and he moves on.
At the same time, I do think it's okay to be critical of a guy like that.
People can't make mistakes. You can't make a mistake.
He was 25 and she's 15 and he got her drunk. Had sex with her. It's not a mistake when you're a grown man.
Oh God.
Yeah, this guy, it's not like he was 18 and she was, 15 and he just didn't know. This is that was a premeditated.
If you're drunk, you do stupid stuff.
But you get her drunk, like
a 15-year-old can look 21 real easily.
Oh, okay, and we're onto this subject.
I'm just saying, I'm not.
We're out of this subject.
I'm just saying, I'm not trying to defend the guy, but I'm just shit happens, and sometimes people's personal business should just be their personal business.
Well, I think it's their personal business up to a point where they are, you have to know that
He's helping make the thing happen, and you're going to be critical of it just because of something that happened years ago, a mistake that he's made, that he's already paid his dues, and you're gonna shame him for something that he's already probably feels pretty shameful about. Like when you're a registered sex offender, like you're fucked. Like you put your name in the thing, like he's gonna be carrying that badge for the rest of his life.
The rest of his life,
and he's just gonna keep fucking tagging him for it. Like,
I think here's what I think.
Who cares? Like, let him live his life. He's not hurting anyone now. Are you a 15-year-old girl?
Well, I think here's the problem. The guy has done interviews since, and doesn't appear to be repentant in the sense of like, I did something wrong. He always has said, I made a mistake, which again, when you're a grown man and you do that to a teenager, I think that line gets a little blurred. So he misrepresents
25? He's 25. Look, it's not like he was 55.
Yeah, but still, you're 25.
It's less than 10 years difference. It's 10 years exactly.
There's
a lot of marriages that are like that.
Not when they're underage.
15 is like right.
Anyways, what I'm saying is I do think that if they knew that guy was going to be wrestling there, that they, you got to put out a notice. I think it's just doing the right thing because
he's got to shame himself. Hey everyone, I'm a registered sex offender.
I'm not saying
I made a mistake like
I'm
X
not saying
amount of years ago.
It's not his business, but I do think it's the responsibility of the people running the event to bring that up.
Oh, and that's ridiculous.
Kenny has said if it was offensive,
people need to grow up. It's not that big.
He's going to offer refunds. So I do praise Kenny Omega for stepping up to the plate, doing the right thing. But I do think it is something that, in the future, you should probably give a guy a Google if you're going to be doing business with him. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I think people need to let people move on.
Maybe. Who knows? I'm certainly not judge, jury, and executioner.
He's not going to be... Like, what do you think he's going to do? He's going to start abducting little kids and with his little sex traffic, little statutory rape people? Like, what are we talking about? God.
I'm just saying, if you're at an event with, you've known to be, with underage kids, and you're at an event where there is underage kids and it's at a hotel, I think it's just important to let people know. That's all I think.
You're entitled to your opinion.
As are you, sir.
All right.
So I think there's another thing to talk about. So after CEO, everyone's got their hot takes on Twitter. And we saw kind of an exchange between Gross and Sonic Fox. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I saw some of that, yeah. I forgot who really initiated it, but
it was a Gross post talking about how anybody could construct an argument as to how a character is not as good as they think. And he was doing it for Black Adam.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was saying like, oh, Black Adam XYZ is broke because of XYZ or something like that. And yeah, he was like, pretty much you can plug in any character and do that and make that character sound like they're broken.
Which I think that's a strong idea. Like I generally am for that idea, but then it continues, and then you can keep going about that.
Yeah, I think Sonic Fox went in there and just said, "Oh, Black Adam just laughs at the neutral. So many characters just laugh at the neutral, and it just makes me not want to play the game." And it's like, what the hell? Like,
yeah, you were pretty worked up about that.
It's just dumb. Like, every character has their shit. Every character's good. That's why we like the game, is that every character has got something good about them to make you feel powerful. And, I don't know, now all of a sudden, Sonic Fox wants to be like, he's complaining about Black Adam. Like, we're still complaining about Black Adam. Like, this character was out of control from the beginning, and that didn't stop Sonic Fox before. Sonic Fox was beating Black Adam. He's been beating Black Adam since the day the game's come out. And now suddenly Black Adam in his weakest form is a problem? Like, get the fuck out of here. I think he's just upset. He didn't win in Dragon Ball, he didn't win in Injustice. He's got his attention is divided. Like, there's just too much. I think there's a shit ton of competition in Dragon Ball because so many fucking people love it. And then Injustice 2, I mean, it's year 2. Like, it's nothing but the best of the best right now. So you gotta pick one. Not even Sonic Fox is going to be able to overcome all this. So I think he's just upset. And this is annoying. Like, these are the leaders of our community. And they've got to realize that what they say, like, causes a big ripple effect to the people below and the people that are, like, up and coming and the people that are or even just normal fans of the game, just casually. Like, you shit on the game. It just makes everyone not even want to play it or look at it, and it's just bad. It's toxic. It's just not good. If you don't like it, then just shut up. Like, who cares? Like, you had a bad tournament, then you just want to shit on the whole game that you've been playing for the past year and a half on a character that's hasn't been a problem for you for God knows how long. Now all of a sudden he's a problem. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, so I guess
it's annoying.
Some of the things do you think that even though, yes, he did beat Black Adam, but don't you think he still has the right to maybe be critical of the way Black Adam's, because there's certain characters you can try and nerf as much as you can. There'll be a problem in their design. And do you think that maybe there is something to what he's saying?
What, that all characters like ignore neutral?
Not that necessarily, but that Black Adam specifically.
What is so broken about Black Adam?
Well, I think I'm playing devil's advocate here. So I think what they were saying is that against Black Adam, it's very difficult to move because he has so many moves that track. And then he obviously is tremendous mid-range potential with his strings. And then against all of that, he has an overhead that goes practically the full screen. It's going to launch you on hit. Going to be pretty damn safe on block. I think they were just saying that it's controls it to the point where he's never lost control. I think is what they were arguing.
There is nothing that he does that you can't do anything about. I think Starfire is more oppressive than Black Adam. That's what I don't get.
I think Starfire was in that loop of characters that I think it's like Dr. Fate.
Yeah, that was another
Starfire,
thing. Everyone was raging about Dr. Fate for a while. Now where is he? Like, we barely see him. Like, he's still considered good, but he's not wrecking the game like people thought he was going to be doing. Like, people were like, top 3 easy, he's so dumb now. It's like, no, he's just still good. It's probably the same with Black Adam. He's probably just still good.
Now, do you think that is it necessarily, if you're a top player in the game, are you not allowed to be critical or frustrated, I should say, on Twitter?
Yeah, but you should. I wouldn't. Like, he literally said he's going to quit the game because of Black Adam. Because XYZ characters, like, ignore neutral or whatever. Now all of a sudden you're going to quit the game. When the game is at its tamest. This is the tamest NRS game yet. It's tamer than MK9. It's tamer than Injustice 1. It's tamer than Mortal Kombat X and all their iterations. It's tamer than it was when Injustice 2 first came out. And it's still broken. It's still not playable. Like, what? Like, it just doesn't make sense. It's not congruent with what's been going on. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. It sounds like salt to me. It just sounds like someone's not happy about their performance and they're taking it out on the game.
So I'll get into my real opinion in a sec, but I will say, let me offer you this statement. Would you agree that there are certain, I won't say unfixable, but will never be fixed flaws in the Injustice game style / engine that will always be turnoffs to players.
Yes.
Okay.
If they were complaining about missed inputs, I could see that. Or I think that's the biggest thing, is the missed inputs, like the transition from down to back and getting a special move when you're trying to get a normal. The transition from like down to back, and you getting a neutral. A lot of these cross-ups and stuff that happen, it's just like you're trying to just roll to the other direction, and you can't do it in time because neutral isn't blocked. Like, you know, there's just a few frames where you're not pushing any direction to block because you're transitioning from like forward to back, or, you know, down back to forward because it's a cross-up and stuff like that. And that is frustrating, and I get that. My other argument is most games have stuff like that. But that is annoying. You see it even at high level play. You see Superman's doing rising grab. When we covered Samij versus Tweety that first week, like that matchup of the week, I didn't put it in the video, but one of the big moments from one of those matches was Tweety went for a meter burn back 3, and Samij went to do back 2, but he was holding down. So when he went from down to back 2, he got an evade, and he ate a raw meter burn back 3, and it was just massive damage. And that shit sucks, and that turns players off if you're a top player, all the way down if you're like a casual. So yeah, if they were raging about that, I'd be like, yeah, that's viable. But I don't know, complaining about Black Adam. That's what I don't get.
What I was getting at was more of like, with no, God, I'm blanking on the term for it. In most 2D fighters, they have proximity blocking, where, you know, you do a move and you stop to block it even though you're out of the range of it in theory, but that's how it works. Justice doesn't have that. The stages are incredibly long. Every time you beat someone, they flip and flop and go all over the full screen again. What I'm getting at is that there is nothing that you can do where Injustice will never not favor characters like Starfire and Black Adam. Is that fair to say?
You mean just like a hold back, like zoning type?
Yes. Or / really strong, like mid-range footsie character.
I'm
not saying it's dominated by matchups. I'm just saying always in their favor.
Doesn't every game have like characters that just kind of dominate neutral though? Like,
I didn't say they didn't. I'm just saying for Injustice specifically, it is in this case it tends to be.
They could polarize it if they wanted to. I feel like
they could. I'm just saying they won't. Like, I'm just saying this is what we're stuck with for the most part.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a bad thing to be stuck with. Like, what's the problem with it?
So I think, though, what I'm saying is I think that naturally there's going to be a lot of people that are turned off by that particular... Like, a lot of people are going to feel like they're handicapped by default. I think it's just like with MKX, right? Where you had a lot of people who would say, I'm a this-centric player and I'm handicapped by the way that this game works. Fair to say, I think, right?
If you can't stop someone from holding back, like, I don't think that's an Injustice problem.
I'm not saying that you can't stop it, but I'm just saying, again, there is always a character like Starfire or Black Adam who's going to, or Dr. Fate, the way they work is you're going to have to, your offense is playing right into what they want all the time. I think that's fair to say. So
I think every fighting game has that.
But with that in mind, I think you are right that top characters in most games, they limit your mobility or tunnel you into a certain one way of attacking, and that's pretty much it. That is, to me, in being a top character in a fighting game, is limiting mobility to only where you dominate. That is what top characters do. I think in any game I've ever played, you've played Tekken for a long time. I don't think anyone would argue that Mishimas, because of their mobility, because of the way their moves work, like Hell Sweep and stuff like that, you're never comfortable against them, right?
Right.
Right. Okay. So now that is true for Injustice in the sense of defensive-minded kind of fireball characters, I think the way the players talk is it makes it sound like it doesn't take any skill to play one of these characters. That, like when Sonic Fox says stuff about like I can't play neutral, to me that's an ego thing.
Right.
I don't think Sonic is a very good loser because he doesn't do it very often. It doesn't happen often. So when it does happen, you do see moments like, for example, when he kind of crapped out at E-League, losing to King twice. And then he went on Twitter and said, well, I won the real finals, the IPS finals, so Dragon can hold that.
To be fair, that is extremely hard. Like, he can rage all. Ultimately, I understand.
I'm not being critical.
Yeah,
I'm just saying it's
I'm
a fact.
yeah, I'm being hard on him. Like, you know, I don't know. I'm not trying to call him out or anything. But
I'm not, like I said, I'm not being super critical of the anger necessarily. I'm just saying it just happens, right?
It's gonna happen. Yeah, he's gonna get upset. You can't really blame him either because it's just, God, I've been there because it's painful.
Yes,
you don't want to lose. You don't want to lose it, and I don't want him to lose it, and I want him to keep. It's part of it is I want him to stay in a positive attitude because I know he can fucking win. Like we all know he can fucking win if he really wants to. But if he has this negative attitude towards the game, we don't want him to fucking quit our game because he's been the fucking best player we've ever fucking seen, and it would really hurt our community if he quit. So he's got an obligation. Well, I mean, he's not obligated, but he's got to realize how the repercussions that stuff causes when he says he's going to quit the game. Like it hurts. It hurts the community that kind of like, you know, really got him stardom. You know, that really thrust him into the fame that he's got. It's like, I don't know, just if you don't like it, if you got some problems. He knows plenty of people in NRS. Fucking complain to NRS about Black Adam. I don't know.
Well, so that was going to be getting into my main point. So all of our critiques are from the perspectives of players who have been in that this game is all we play for hours and hours at a time, and you don't do very well, and frustration sets in. I think we both, obviously you've had way, 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 way more success than I have, but we understand the frustration.
Oh yeah.
Now, having said that, I think when Sonic says things like, "Oh, they don't allow you to play neutral," whatever, because again, when Sonic says neutral, that means nothing. That just throw that out. That's an ego move. That's a well, I didn't get to do this, so fuck it. You know, like that's what that is. And it's understandable. That's what happens when you lose. And also, I think the other thing is like, what is it? What is the number Tweety thumps his chest about? What, 1,900 hours or whatever he keeps saying on Twitter? And he talked about, I played 1,900 hours in this boring ass game. Any game that you play too much of, you're not gonna like. I think that's fair to say too, right? Like, yeah. I mean, we both know 16-bit. Do you think he liked Injustice 1? I don't.
Hindsight, he probably liked it.
Yeah, I mean, now looking back, like, again,
during the time we were playing, it felt like that he was taking a steak and just churning it into his own heart
every week, right? Like
right.
So, and they did this with MKX too, which is again going to be back to my main point. They did this with MKX, and now that no one plays MKX as seriously, there's a resurgence, and why can't we play MKX and blah blah blah. So, again, frustration is natural. It's not trying to say that you can't be frustrated because no, even a professional sports player, like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, Andre Agassi, doesn't like tennis. I'm sure there's plenty of pro basketball players that hate fucking basketball.
Yeah.
But you deal with it by no basketball player who's frustrated with the game of basketball is going to go on Twitter and be like, you know what, fuck this fucking basketball game.
Right.
It's not that you can't be mad. It's just that I think when you become a top player or a person of influence, we'll say person of influence.
That's a good.
It's not always top.
That's
when you're a person of influence, you have a wide audience, and your audience is going to repeat what you say. It's not a slight against people. It's just how most people tend to be on social media.
People look up to him, yeah.
They do. They look up to you. So
people live vicariously through him.
Certainly do. So when you say this game has no neutral, and in the way that you mean it, because you're mad, and even though you'll give props to Gross as a player, what you kind of hint at is that if someone picks this character, there's nothing in my great all-knowing skill can stop, and I think that sucks. Which a lot of people will extrapolate meaning to this game doesn't take a whole lot of skill if you pick this character.
Yeah, and that's bullshit.
And then what people will do is repeat that over and over again. And again, it's not always just the stream, people, just random people in the stream chat. It's actual players. Because again, when you're in groups with these people and they're influential and their voice matters, they will, if they feel otherwise, they either won't speak up or they will kind of let themselves fall into the group thing. Because, I mean, You've been in circles with 16-bit. You know if he got loud, people would just agree with him. What, are you going to yell back at him? Probably not. You would, maybe, but someone else, or Pig, or anybody like that. So when that starts to spread, it then becomes, well, and then you expect people to get excited for the game who don't watch, and are just tuning in. If they see on social media that you don't seem to think the game takes a lot of skill to be good at, only you just have to sink a certain amount of time in with a certain character, I don't think that does a whole lot of good for the brand.
Right.
And I think that's what turns people off from watching is, oh, well, I guess, these players don't really seem to care that much. They only, they're playing for money, which a lot of people now are starting to thump their chest about. But that money matters to about 2% of players, let's be honest. There's many, many, many potential players who don't care about the money so much as they want to care about having a good time playing it. But I think with, obviously when you're frustrated and you vent, but it all circles back around. It may not be your problem if people read into your statements, but it's going to become your problem.
Yeah. It's
going to become your problem. And I think that MKX, I think, was the worst. I still think MKX was far worse at this. Far, like that was easily the most toxic game NRS ever released, right? Like, the opinions and the vitriol about that game. Who when they were playing it, who liked that game?
I didn't.
I mean, like, I know I didn't personally, but who was playing it and never, like, was always talking about how, like, oh, it's just guessing, like, anybody could be good. Everyone was talking like that when the game was out.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was talking like that. And we had the same kind of numbers and just general people that would watch.
Well, I think that's a tradition for NRS community to have this fucking bullshit attitude.
Really? You think so? You think it's basically systemic?
It's a fucking problem in our community, and we really need to take a hard look at ourselves because as an NRS community, because this isn't all 100% on the community. I don't think either, because NRS has been so awesome that they've obliged to listen to us on a lot of shit. Remember, like, when Zyfox said, like, which version of Liu Kang was, like, shit? I can't remember, like, Dragonfire.
The duelist, I think.
He said it was shit. And lo and behold, NRS buffs the shit out of him, and he's fucking dumb.
Oh, Flame Fist,
yeah.
Flame Fist.
Then he got stupid. And he also went on tangent about Takeda and how he was shit. And then Takeda got buffed out of the wazoo, and he became stupid. Like, so many, the whole Scorpion fiasco, like, NRS listens to its players. And so it's kind of like the parent that just lets its kid, like, just get away with shit. The kid's just going to try and bite more and more and more and see what more he can get away with. So NRS has got a history of fucking players complaining about shit, and NRS fucking listens to them and caters to it. And so I think it's just a tradition for, like, the NRS community. Just when shit doesn't go your way, don't complain, or go on Twitter or TYM or wherever the fuck, complain like a little whiny kid about it, and maybe NRS will hook you up because they've done it before. And it's abusing the graces that NRS has given the community, and the community, instead of being grateful for it, tries to just keep going to the well, try to get more water, and just ultimately ends up hurting the whole damn thing.
Well, I think here's the. I don't think necessarily that having such open communication with developer is a bad thing, and I certainly think that a lot of the changes they have done have ultimately been for the good. They're like, again, the Scorpion thing. It was bad, and sometimes they don't make the best balanced decisions. I think that's totally true, but I think most of the time I would say it's general positive. A lot of times when they've listened or if they've made a big change.
NRS is doing everything that they can, and they literally are. Like, they're listening. Like, Jesus Christ, the fact that
they're
listening.
in a lot of the stream chats and stuff. Like, I don't think there's any complaint that's been given that's like someone's like, well, why aren't everyone's talking about it? Why aren't they listening? I think they know.
Yeah, they know.
But with Injustice 2 especially, they've showed a real steady hand. They tried not to go like with Deadshot. Like Deadshot,
they tried. Yeah.
They waited for at least 4 months or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they really did try to and they've also tried to taper their balancing not around major tournaments to not so much play havoc with those like it has in the past.
They did. That's the thing. They did such a good job with this game, and to see this reversion of top players raging about, oh, top tier character. This character's too derpy. This game's derpy. It's such a regression from this game and how NRS has handled it. It's just sad to see. And there's just so many good things that happened at this tournament. Sonic Fox didn't win.
Well, I think it's funny that, in all this talk about Black Adam, Catwoman did in fact win the tournament.
Yeah, like everyone's complaining. Yeah, that's the other thing. We're complaining about Black Adam, who didn't even win. Complaining about Starfire, who didn't even fucking win. Sonic Fox didn't win. We've got all these great characters that are stepping up. Like, we saw fucking Bane. We see like the Honeybee makes it with fucking Flash. Like, there's still plenty of fucking cool characters. There's a shit ton of good characters in the game, and we're focusing on Black Adam again.
You sound exasperated.
It's just annoying.
And one thing I don't really care about hearing is the whataboutism. A lot of people will be like, well, everyone shits on their game, like Street Fighter. This is an issue,
and that's bad.
Wide across the fighting game.
To Street Fighter.
Wide across the fighting community, it's a bad idea if you're a person of influence and you shit on the game in the sense of that you're trying to make it sound like it doesn't take skill to be good at. I don't think it does anything for your brand.
It hurts so bad. Look at Street Fighter V. I never thought I'd see Street Fighter struggle as much as it is. And it's mainly just because of shit community. The community just starts shitting all over it, and it has a big snowball effect on the perspective that everyone has on the game and when they watch it. One of my favorite fucking Soul Caliburs was Soul Calibur 4. That was such a cool game. There were so many cool concepts in that game that had never been introduced in fighting games. One of them was like a guard break, where it's like if you guarded too much, your life bar would flash, and like if it guarded or you broke it, like you would do like a death move, and you would win the whole fucking round. You could have a full life bar and win the round. That was cool. There was all types of cool like little just frame things. It was a good game, but the community was so fucking bad. I remember everyone was arguing on the forums about Algol and whether he should be banned in tournaments because he shot little bubbles across the screen, and
I remember that.
He's a projectile like character. He's a boss character, and
Hildegard and
yeah, whatever her name was too. But it's just like the community never came to an agreement. All it ever became is everyone just fucking arguing about what should be in tournament, what shouldn't be in tournament. And then eventually all the arguing became this game is shit, and then the game just fucking died. And I was just like, God damn it. I was like, this was a good game. Same thing with Soul Calibur 5. Pretty good game. But the community was just shit. And the game never, like, people always talk about, oh, I like Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur is such a good game.
It happens all the
time.
And then
there's never a fucking community for it, because the community, the players that play those games are just fucking shit.
what I think is it's cyclical. It happens all the time with MK9, and because I've been around for all of them, as have you. MK9, Injustice 1, and MKX. Everyone hated it when they played it. When it was gone, they then talked about it like it was this unsung hero, and why can't it come back? And it's like people forget what it was like at the time, and you wonder why you can't have, I mean, because again, the community is very small, so I don't think it would happen anyway, but you wonder why if people don't feel like they need to play 2 games at the same time, because you didn't like the last one, as far as we can understand. And then, like, again, it sucks because we understand, well, I understand, and I'm sure you do too, when you play a game so long, you don't like it. You just don't. You have bitter feelings about it, or you don't enjoy playing it as much because you just always playing. And
well,
yeah, you're going to
you always got to work. Like,
you do always have to. It's never, yeah, you can't coast. You certainly can't coast.
It's literally happened to me within the past day. Yeah. I was playing a shit ton in rank. I was doing good. I was kicking ass. I was about to get in the top 20 in ranked. And I was like, man, I'm fucking kicking ass. And I played the fucking Aquaman player. And I lost. And it was the way I lost. I knew something was fucking wrong with my whole mental fucking state. I was up like 2-0 against the dude, and then I lost like 3 straight, and I was like, man, like that is a fucking problem. And it was because I've just been playing too much fucking ranked. I've been playing, most of the time in ranked, you play like, scrubs and shit. You just fucking run a train on them. You do your like signature shit on them, and you just laugh about how well it works. and you just keep coasting. And then when you finally play someone who's good, like who's thinking, they're adjusting, and all of a sudden they get hip to your signature shit, and you're just like, what the fuck do I do now? And you just kind of lose it. I was just like, I need to fucking play sets again, because playing a first to 3 and just using like, my signature setups and stuff that, it's just obscure and people don't really see it very often. I need to get back to just like adjusting quick again. So it's like, man, I need to start fucking playing sets again, because I'm in too much of a derp state. And you gotta recognize, like, you gotta look at yourself when you lose like that, and you gotta assess the fucking scenario. And a lot of people just rather get butthurt about it. Just be like, you know what, fuck this game. I made all these progressions. I'm doing so good, and then all of a sudden, the wheels fall off, and most people just don't know why, and they just want to blame the game. And sometimes you got to go back to the drawing board, and it's nothing that you've messed up. It's just sometimes you just got to go back and fine tune your shit. And sometimes you don't need to improve on XYZ. It's get back to the mental state to where you were to got you there to begin with. There's like tournament mode, and then there's just playing the game mode, and that's what it is sometimes.
It's pretty well said, and I think there's obviously some people are just going to want to have the right to be mad. I mean, Perfect Legend exists. Like, that's his whole existence. Him saying something stupid and then arguing that he has the right to be mad. Which, again, I can't say no, because it's true. You certainly have the right to be frustrated.
Don't bring down the whole ship with you.
That's what I mean. I think that sometimes the people of influence have to understand that influence. And know
Go in your Discord and be mad.
That would be preferable, certainly. I know that... the so-called, the vaunted Skype Illuminati was really just a place that so 16-bit would murder somebody or hurt the community as bad. Pig, the same thing. A lot of guys, the same thing. It's just because they were at least sometimes cognizant enough to know that if they said these things in a public matter, it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't contribute anything, and it was just not.
It hurts the community too much.
I just wish sometimes people were smarter, I guess is all I have to say about that. I think that I wish sometimes that people understood that it's not just the in-game play the gameplay that matters. It's also gameplay out. It's also how you act outside of the gameplay, especially when you have a voice of influence. And I think that when you complain about, oh, the game has no money in it, and oh, they don't get pop bonuses because there's not enough players, not enough people play it, you have to wonder where that damage started. And like you said, it might be systemic. It might be something that can't be worked out so easily, but it's something you have to address to get better from it.
In the end, you got to remember why you played to begin with. You played because it was fun. You didn't get this fucking good to be a fucking esports guy. You didn't get this fucking good to fucking win thousands of dollars. You got this good because the main thing is you were having fun.
Well, and that's it. Some people would argue that they did do that.
They did do what?
That they did start playing to get money, to make money.
No, that's bullshit.
And again,
there's a bunch of other shit you could have done with your life.
Well, to be fair, you have to
could have
remember
been an expert in anything.
I brought this up last.
Good at a fucking fighting game. Why? Because you were having fucking fun at it.
But if they started playing in like MKX era, like I said, like I mentioned last week, we come from an era where that was a pipe dream, and that wasn't common, and now it is. Can you blame someone who started playing like MKX?
You don't get into something if you don't enjoy it.
That's true. I agree with that. I agree with that for sure.
I don't get into what's something that you make a lot of money in, like selling insurance. Oh, there's a shit ton of money in selling insurance. I don't go into fucking selling insurance because I hear there's a lot of money in it. I don't give a flying shit. Because I'm more interested. I want to do something that I enjoy. I would rather be good at something that I enjoy doing. And that's everyone. So whenever I hear someone play, oh, I'm playing to get that esports money, or oh, I'm playing to get, like, you're full of shit. You're playing because you're fucking having fun. And you somewhere along the, maybe they're saying that, and maybe that, you know, their trajectory has changed. But originally, you were fucking playing because you were having fun. And it's... Everyone shouldn't... Are you still there?
Yeah, I didn't go anywhere.
Okay. My laptop went to sleep on me. And I was like, oh, shit. I'm
still here.
But yeah, but yeah, like I was saying, like, people just forget what the main reason they were fucking playing the damn game for. And that's all I was trying to get at, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we talked about that. I can't remember if it was last week or maybe a couple weeks ago, where we said that, you know, you have to remember why you played in the first place. And I think when you become... Now, obviously, that's going to change when your perspective changes. I think everyone can agree with that. If you become a really strong player when you weren't so good, obviously your perspective changes. What you care about more is different than what the average player would care about.
Certain things become attainable when you start getting good.
Attainable or you notice these things over other players. But at the same time, I think you have to remember that a lot of people are playing to have fun, and you suck the... And I think you suck the fun out of something when you make it so like it's a waste of time to play it.
That's exactly it. Most people are playing because they're having fun. But when they see a top player who's high on the mountain shouting down, hey, this isn't fun up here, but then no one wants to climb the mountain.
Why would you get to the top of the mountain? Exactly.
That's the fucking problem. It's like, if you're at the fucking top of the mountain, go tell the other people that are up the mountain with you, like, man, this is fucking hard. It's fucking cold up here. There's an ice camp. Like, damn, this is some work. Don't yell down to everyone else, hey, this is a fucking shitstorm. Fuck this. like, you're up there. You're kicking ass. Everyone's looking up at you. They think you're fucking awesome. Just because you slipped and fell fucking 10 feet doesn't mean you gotta shit on it. Like, just tell everyone, just forget it. It's just...
Yeah, I think that's a great way of saying it, is that when you're on top, don't make it sound like going to the top was only worth it for the money, because A, that's not guaranteed money, and B, you don't sound like you're having fun even though you're at the top. I agree with that. I do think that like I said before, what hurts, viewership and or people trying to get into it is that people don't think it's worth the effort because the game's dumb or the community sucks or whatever reason. And I think the community is overall a pretty nice group of people. I think it's way more close-knit and it's way more open than, say, the Capcom community for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even parts of the Tekken, I don't really know. But at the same time, you wouldn't see... And again, I don't think this has anything to do with cultural differences. I don't think you would see a player like, say, Kudans or JDCR or who's another, Saint. Any of those guys would, in public, disparage the game because they were mad that something happened.
The Tekken community has always been pretty good about it.
Yeah, what they would
usually.
I've said this before. I said this on 2AM not too long ago. To me, the NRS side of the community is the only competitive community, and competitive is important because casual stream viewers will shit on this topic regardless of what game it is or who it's saying it. The only community I've ever seen where they think that counterpicking and people picking multiple characters and like that is the sign of a terrible game is the NRS competitive community.
Right.
You play Tekken, here's what's good, Mishima's. And maybe, Brian, and in Tekken 7 at least, what appears to be is...
in every game.
Yeah, a Mishima, Jack, or Dragunov. These are top people. And of course, there is variances, like I said, the guy, John Ding, who's just won with Eddie, which is probably happy for you, at CEO. But for the most part, what most people play is a Mishima or a Dragunov or Jack. Fair to say, I think.
Right.
And in Tekken Tag, I'm sure it was a Mishima... or Bruce, or, whoever, right?
Bob or something, yeah. Oh, you're talking about the Tekken Tag 1.
Tekken Tag 1, yeah.
Ogres and Mishimas, yeah.
Right, yeah.
That's all you ever heard about.
Yeah. And in Street Fighter this past weekend, we saw it was 3 Camis in the top 8. And a couple Monot players. It happens. And if you have a character to counter the other character, you'll see so many times the phrase, it's a bad look, when counterpicking happens. And it's really not. I don't think anyone actually cares. The people that care are the people who weren't going to come out and play anyways, I think. Mm-hmm. I think when you try to make it like it's this big deal that... Because I don't know of any competitive video game where that... Especially like Overwatch and League of Legends and stuff like that. That's just the name of the game.
Yeah, it's part of the game.
It's part of the game. Now, in fighting games, too... It always has been. It always has. Anytime you play a game, and this can be a video game or a board game or something like that, where you have characters or a diversified set of tools like a trading card game, there are going to be counters to a strategy.
Right.
It just exists, and I don't believe it's this horrible sign. This sign of I think it was the other day. I don't know if it was based on what you had said or. Someone else said it, where they're talking about how Injustice 2 is pretty balanced, and Foxy leapt in and said that balance isn't true when you counterpick all the time. That's not a sign of balance. But I would argue that that's not necessarily true either. There are games, I think, very lauded games that have been played for years and years and years that exist on that very formula. I mean, we've talked about ST, we've talked about Third Strike. Those games never went away. They're still played to this day, and they are games that are like that. You could play ST and, like we said, play Honda, and they pick a Fireball character, and man, I got to think twice about this. Or you even play, a character as good as DJ or something, and they pick, Blanca or something. You're like, well, shit, man. It happens, but no one seems to care that much when they're actually playing it. They either put up with it or. I mean, in ST's case, obviously it's never going to change, but I wonder if it's that idea that it could change, which leads people to believe it's this big problem, so they make a bigger stink out of it than maybe they normally would. But it's real disappointing to see that that hasn't changed in 6 years. I just thought one day they'd get over it, but a lot of people still have that stuck in their craw, I guess.
Look, counterpicking it's always around, and it's up to you to figure out how you want to deal with it. It's up to you as an individual player how you want to handle that. If you feel like it's a bad match and you feel like it's your best interest to pick a different character, then fucking do it. That doesn't. And if you are a loyalist and you'd rather spend the time just really grinding out that matchup and taking it to a meta to where that person counterpicking you takes them to a meta that they're not comfortable with, then you can go that route. But every game's going to have players that think counterpicking is their way to go, is the way to go. And there's not going to be a game on the planet where that's not the case. And so, yeah, like, it's a shitty argument. Like, it's just dumb.
And I think, too, a lot of people feel that they need to because, like I said, the pressure of it's a 5-month tournament series, and the tournaments happen fairly close to each other, so it's like they don't have the time. And but then that's what I mean. It's that same thing where we talked about how when you're playing the game and you're frustrated with it. It's not that the problem is necessarily that this exists. It's that it's exacerbated by this pressure you have or feel the need to do it because it's an easy solution. Or I should say easier. It's not easy, but it's an easier solution than trying to figure out a worse matchup. You know.
What annoys me is that. So right now there's this big Starfire thing.
Right.
And I think there's been pressure on NRS players to just find the cheapest thing as fast as possible. You got like a 2-year span to find the cheapest shit as possible. A new patch comes out, find the cheapest shit as possible, exploit it.
Yeah, in any game that's constantly patched, that's definitely the biggest strategy.
Yeah, so NRS is giving us time to really let this game breathe and really flesh out these matchups that we think are bad or these counterpicks that we think are bad. And instead of top players, saying, hey, let's figure this out, everyone, it just sucks to see, this is just derp out with this or just counterpick. Oh, this is a counterpick game. You don't fucking know that because we don't know when the next fucking game is. And if you keep fucking playing the game, maybe you'll find out that's not true because, like we said, I don't know, like the first or second episode, how many fucking games have been played for years and the whole meta changes on a dime because one or two things gets found out.
Strategies, yeah.
Like an option selector, like T-Hawk and ST was shit tier for fucking like a decade.
Well, I think
and then one day someone finds an option select and he's like fucking number 1 or top 3.
I think that's what's ultimately the most frustrating conundrum of the whole thing is that people would find solutions if there were no patches. They just would. It's just natural, right?
Right. Like, we're going to figure out how to fight Starfire, probably.
Yeah.
We're going to... I just can't believe that I'm about to say the sentence, like, we're going to figure out how to fight Black Adam. Like, we already know, like, most people already know how to fight him. He's just a good character, and that's it. Like, he's a lot of players started off playing Black Adam. A lot of good players. So they are just super fucking familiar with his meta. So even when he's toned down and he's nerfed, and he's still strong, that doesn't mean he's still broken. It's just a lot of the best players still fucking use that guy.
Well, and then also it goes back to, the idea of like made up rules in fighting games, like Black Adam does 113 trait and he's plus 12. Like, that shouldn't exist in a fighting game. Well, eat shit, I guess. Like, I don't know what to tell you. If that's your opinion, then I just
go
don't
fucking play Guilty Gear.
That's what I mean.
Anime
literally,
game.
like, just
you
don't.
You think fucking at Black Adam? That's what I don't get about Sonic saying that stuff. It's like he's played way more fucking broken games than he's dealt with way more broken shit than Black Adam before. So that just makes it look even more like an ego assault thing.
Like an ego move. Yeah, that's what I read it as, but a lot of people won't.
Right. A lot of people are going to look up to him and just be like, "Wow, Justice 2's really shitty." Really?
If you're not familiar with that kind of banter, which happens, I mean, we've known people that are like that. We can brush it off, but I would argue most people can't, because he's got a lot of followers on Twitter.
Yeah,
they're just going to see that he's thinking about quitting the game because he thinks the meta's bad.
Why not just say I really need to focus on one game or the other, and I feel like I'm going to focus more on Dragon Ball. Like,
it's a tough. A lot of people have. Again, it's you'd think, but a lot of people have problems confronting even the simplest of truths, even if they're just a little difficult. So I think that's the problem that we're going to run into. And who knows if people of influence listen to this, but I would say, if we're going to get pushback, obviously the answer is going to be, well, we can say whatever we want. We're human beings. Yes, there is nothing stopping you from doing that. But I'm just saying, when and inevitably if you complain about the pop bonuses not being there or the players not being there, there is reasons for it. And if you can't see it, then that's just you being blind.
And we're singling out Sonic Fox, but I mean, he's not the only one.
Oh, there's Gross, there's Silver Eye, there's a lot of people.
Yeah. This goes out to all of them.
Yeah. It's just...
Call me tits.
Whoa, I don't know about this.
Just saying.
Well, maybe they do. And, maybe at the next tournaments it'll be better. So what we've got coming up. We got Viennale this weekend. I don't know how many American players will be going. But I'm certain players in the European side of things.
One other thing I want to say is, Sonic Fox has never, played a major mainstream game. He's never played a game where there was international competition.
Well, he's playing Dragon Ball.
That's what I'm saying. This is the first time he's really getting a taste of, international competition. And not just that,
Well, to be fair, when you say international, what you mean is Asian.
Whatever.
Sinosphere. Because he's been playing players from the UK and from obviously Tekken Master and stuff like that. But I think what you mean is from the Sinosphere.
Yeah, he's playing against he's used to these small pool of players that he's got to, fight against NRS community. He was actually pretty good in Soul Calibur as well. He was really good in fucking DOA, Skullgirls. He's used to these smaller communities and dominating them. Now he's in a big fucking pond with a lot more fish, and he's gonna have to decide if he can. He was able to dominate multiple small communities. I don't know if he's going to be able to dominate multiple small communities and dominate a big fucking giant fucking lake with a lot of other fish too. We might be at the point where maybe even Sonic Fox is biting off more than what he can chew.
Very possible, yes.
All right, anyway, now we can move on. I just wanted to say that.
It's okay. That's fair. So, like I said, coming up, we've got Viennale, which Viennale is a major premier tournament for the IPS Pro Tour. So, whoever wins that is more or less guaranteed in the IPS finals. So, like I said, I don't know how many American players are going because it is, again, the week right after CEO. But I imagine some of the European players who will have an easier time traveling to it. I'm not saying it's going to be easy if you live in, say, France to get all the way, to get to Austria. But it's, easier to get to than if you're American and flying across the Pacific Ocean. So we'll see there who manages to take that spot. Right now, we have Tweety and Samij are guaranteed to be in IPS finals.
Wow.
So
that's
so Samij, it's interesting, actually would have gotten it either way.
Really?
Because Tweety cannot win the points again, or the guaranteed spot again. So if he had won the tournament, Samij still by getting second would have been given that opportunity.
Okay.
So yeah, those two are in. We'll see after Viennale, and then Evo, August 3rd through 5th. It's going to be at Mandalay Bay again. Biggest tournament of the year. I know. I think both are. I think we're going to be there, right?
I will be at Evo. Yes.
As will I. So if you see us, come say hi. We'd love to hear feedback. That's going to be the big tournament to look up to next. Always fun. Always fun. Injustice, one of the lower entries for that tournament. I don't think though that it's the NRS community is just small.
Yeah.
And frankly, if you look at what's up there now, it's all the Titans, the long-standing. A lot of people were upset that BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle has as many more than Injustice, but I think there's a couple things to think about. It's a new game. Everybody plays a new game.
Everyone plays a new game.
Fact.
And Justice had a shit ton of players.
So did MKX. So, but the other thing is that also that BlazBlue Cross Tag, while it is a new game, it is also bringing back, if you played Persona 4 Arena, if you liked BlazBlue, it has a little bit of everything. It's not exactly the same as, say, regular BlazBlue, but it's very close to that. So I think you're going to get a lot more crossover from those communities than you would from, say NRS community to something dribbled down to NRS community. So it does have the lowest numbers, but I really don't think everyone wants an excuse to point out, see, this is why game sucks. That's not one of them, in my opinion.
No,
just not.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so.
I think that's any game that's been around for a while is gonna just have less. It's gonna be more dense.
Yeah, unless it's the primo competition like Street Fighter V or something like that, it's just gonna go down.
Right. I mean,
it is.
Yeah.
Especially from the first year to the second year, for sure.
And no one can really compare to fucking Street Fighter. Like, that's the game that you're.
Or even like Dragon Ball FighterZ is a huge game right now. Tekken 7 even is a huge game right now. Tons of people.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, it's probably pretty crazy for you, right?
It's very strange for me.
Yeah.
Because to me, not really much changed from Tekken 6 to Tekken Tag 2 to Tekken 7. A lot of it, most of it's the fucking same, as far as I can tell. The only difference is now that there's a super now. There's a slow-mo, which does a lot for the hype, and there's a bunch of fucking guest characters. But it worked. But as far as gameplay goes, there are some changes that they made that were very user-friendly.
Right, I think movement was changed a little bit.
Yeah, the way you get up is a lot different now.
Right.
Like back rolling, there was a property in the old games where if you got hit during a back roll, you would get floated. There was a few frames after the back roll where you couldn't block and you could get relaunched. So there's just little things here and there that I guess top players could expose against noobs and stuff like that. And now that's not as much the case. So I mean, they're doing some good things there too.
Yeah, and then obviously, we got mainstays like the Smash games are just huge. I mean, they're just going to have those numbers regardless. There's really nothing
Smash
you can do to stop.
Such a nuanced type game, yeah, and it's just got a huge community.
Right. So, again, I don't think that it's. There are a lot of arguments you can make as to why the game is I don't even want to say struggling. It only appears to be struggling. It's.
I don't think it's not. Struggling.
Yeah, I really don't know what that means. I just hear that a lot, which I don't understand. Maybe compared to something else, yes, but if you look at history for its community, it's about the same.
Yeah.
People always want something to be bigger. I think you can't help that. But I think also it's misguided to compare it to a lot of these other games and then go, well, it's clearly struggling. It's not doing as good as those. So, even a smaller tournament, it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. Everyone should tune in. And if you're there, again, interact with the community. Despite what we've said, it's definitely good dudes. It's just sometimes the way they react on social media. So, yeah, go to Evo.
It's a good game.
If you can.
It's a really good game.
It's a good game. So we've gone decent amount of time. I think we're going into our wrap up here. Now, I did promise during the last episode that if people had certain questions that they wanted answered, we would leave time for a Q&A section. Now, we only really have one question. So last week we got a comment on YouTube. It asked, or it stated that this person didn't like Injustice because they didn't like the idea of the clash and the air escape because they felt like it punished people for getting combos. What was our opinion on that, and do we think it's not a good system? And I'll go first. To be honest, I think those are widely overblown. I think if you don't play, they're way bigger problems than you ever could think. Like Clash, you can only use once on the second life bar, so it's not like it's a permanent thing that you constantly have to worry about. The other thing is, unlike, say, a Burst in Guilty Gear or something like that, Clash uses your always finite meter resources and not its own bar. So using Clash only is going to happen one time, and yes, it might. A lot of people will even do it early. Like, it's not like they'll do it at the critical second and completely change the game around. It doesn't happen all that often. So you use a finite resource, and Air Escape might be the biggest bill of goods ever, because I remember when the game first came out, everyone was worried that you weren't going to be able to do combos all the time. And while it certainly it has points where you can get out of a move, it's very heavy recovery on whiff, costs 2 bars. it's really weighed down to where it's only useful, I think, in certain. Doing it in the corner, you might as well just not do it. Like people do it all the time as a a panic type thing. Not a good idea. It's just I think those are. While they may sound problematic on paper for people trying to land combos, it's really not that big a deal. Slips, what do you think?
I think a clash is important because it's a 2 life bar system, and you need the clash a lot of the times to make a comeback. Like if you get your ass kicked on the first life bar, the advantage of the second life bar is that you do have the clash, and on that second life bar, maybe you're still having a problem. Or maybe you made a good read, and maybe you got them down to half life, but then they make a good read, and then you can get some of that life back. Like I think you need that in a 2 life bar, like Killer Instinct style. Like you need something that fucking gives you some life back. So that's what I think about Clash. Air Escape. It's 2 bars a meter. It definitely is advantageous for characters that don't really use a lot of meter. I'd say like a Harley or
and also there are certain ways that you go into combos that naturally the air escape feeds into. Like if you have to set them up for a launch into a back 3 or something like that, that is when you want to use it.
Right. And there's other scenarios where it's more ideal to do your air escape, like against Batman, like whenever he does down 2 grapple. If you have the timing down, like you can air escape that to avoid the vortex, and sometimes you can punish them too if you do it perfectly.
Right.
Same thing with Robin. So there's strategies to it as well, but they're mainly to avoid like Oki scenarios or like vortexes and shit like that. And yeah, they're 2 bars a meter. It's 2 bars a meter for typically something that either gets you reset or puts you at a disadvantage. Like if you air escape against Flash, yeah, you might get out of the combo at best, but even then you're probably stuck in another 50-50.
Yeah, I think a lot of times there's some characters where like you get out of the situation, but it's not a punish necessarily. It's more of like, well, we reset the situation. It's not like I'm not down on life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually kind of worried about it in the beginning, and then I heard it was 2 bars a meter, and I was like,
well, yeah, I definitely think when you see something like that, naturally you kind of go like, whoa, hey, like what are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
But I think in practice, I don't know if it worked out as well. Like I see a lot of people, like some people, I was listening to, there's another podcast that's on TYM. I think the Nethercast is what it's called. And they were talking about how, like, I guess a lot of people don't like the clash or the wager system. I never really felt like that was that controversial of a mechanic.
It's been around for a while.
Yeah, well, and also I don't know if it swings matches or does any of the things that people complain about all that much.
I think
you can only use
I love
it once.
the strategy of trying to avoid it too.
Yeah, that comes up too because you use unclashable moves and stuff like that.
Right, that's really cool. Mm-hmm. That's one of Sonic. We keep talking about him, but that's one of Sonic Fox's best traits is his ability to avoid the clash and just gank matches from people.
Yeah, I mean, Samij does it too. You'll see Samij will do like meter burn back 3, cat dash meter burn, which is you cannot clash, and you're down again on your knees, and he does another back 3. So it's like 3 moves right in a row. It's all unclashable.
Yeah, I mean,
Catwoman used to do that in the first Injustice too. Yeah,
that's part of the depth, the clash, and there's the air escape. Like it's all resources, and it's all based on you as an individual and how you want to use those resources. It doesn't matter to you to get out of the scenario, to get out of the combo. Would you rather eat the combo and build up more meter to set up your comeback later? Like it's up to you. Like you can do whatever the hell you want. That's what makes it great.
I agree.
There's nothing damning about it either way. It's your prerogative on how you want to use these mechanics.
I think if you compare it too much to similar mechanics in other games, you'll get an idea about it. But I think when you see it in practice, it really doesn't. It adds, I think, to the strategical depth of the game, and not to like, oh, well, this is an advantage to players who don't want to get comboed. I think they do add more strategic depth than it might appear at first, I think, is what
I thought it was Honeybee versus Gurr, and Honeybee had him. This was the game 4, I think it was. Honeybee had him like twice, and he had him in the game-winning combo. Gurr had 2 bars a meter, and Honeybee thought he was going to air escape, and he dropped the combo on purpose, looking for it. And I don't know, that type of it ended up costing him the game. Like, Gurr got up with 2 bars a meter.
Yeah,
and that's a tough scenario. Like that, and that's very interesting. It's like you got him in the combo. We've seen it so much too, and every time it happens, you're just like, oh, what would I have done? And there, for me personally, I'm always like, man, go for the kill. If they use the meter, then let them use the meter. But if I anticipate the air escape and they don't use the meter, I'll feel like shit even more.
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
That's how I look at it. But
right.
I've seen plenty of scenarios where people they anticipate the air escape and they punish them.
They punish it.
Yeah, and whenever I see that, I always kind of look at it in jealousy, like, oh my god, that guy's strategy is right. His strategy was right, and mine was wrong in that scenario. And so, I mean, and that's the beauty of it. Is
well, I think
what you think is the best thing to do, and other people are going to come up with they think is the best thing to do, and that's what makes it great. That's a fucking fighting game.
Yeah, well, I think to me the beauty of Injustice's system over a lot of other games that had similar features is that a lot of those games will do it with like, oh, we'll add another bar, so there's a burst bar and there's a whatever type bar that lets you escape or something like that. Injustice, all those defensive mechanics, push block, are all tied to your bar, so your bar meter. So it's not like you can just always do it, or you can do it without regards to what your current meter situation is. You always have to be thinking about it. So tying it on, and it makes it a lot simpler, I think, for people to use and understand. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, again, NetherRealm is obviously the most successful fighters on the market. That's why they sell so much. And I think that's a big part of it, is they don't feel the need to tie down those defensive mechanics and stuff to additional bars and things like that.
Right. I think the whole like resource management stuff, this is something I used to talk to Jeremiah a lot about, because he's big on the math as far as meter build and what's the best way to use like a bar meter, and like I would clash with him, and I would a lot of the time I would just spend the bar, like like the first spending 1 bar gives you the 15%.
Yes.
Bars 25. And I would always just bet it all. He'd be like, "You're crazy." He was just like, "That bar meter is precious. Like, that's a whole, combo extender, and that can be an extra, 25, 30% life." And my argument was, the most important bar is the life bar, and I might have that bar meter, and I might spend that bar on something that doesn't hit at all. And then where's that where I could have spent it and taken an extra 10% or 5%, and I'm in a scenario where I have a guaranteed use of that bar meter for doing an extra 10% or 5% or what have you, and I'm going to take it. Like another thing I would talk to him about is something to do with, he would be not raging, but he'd be complaining about like the zoning and the blocking people, blocking projectiles, and they're doing chip damage, and look at all the meter that they're building all this meter, and when you get close, and you'd always get antsy, or I would get antsy, or what have you, and I would be, one of the things I would tell him was like, dude, you can't, this is my personal viewpoint on this, and everyone's going to have their own, but I don't worry about how much meter they're built. Like, you see with the King versus Tekken Master, like, he clearly didn't give a shit about the meter, that Tekken Master was building. That I had the same. That's kind of why I like watching King, and he's so defensive. And how they spend your meter is not in your control, so don't worry about it. Yeah, they're building a shit ton of meter, but that meter doesn't mean that you're gonna eat an extra, 40-50% of your damage when they hit you. You don't know what they're gonna do with that meter. They might just burn it on a meter burn back 3. They might burn it on that, that completely whiffs, and you end up punishing them for it. Like, you don't know what they're going to use that bar meter for, so don't fucking worry about it. It's not your business.
Yeah, I can agree with that as far as, like, people will think, like, oh, I got to minimize, strategy, combos to minimize meter gain for the opponent. It's like, don't worry about that. Just do what you need to do.
That's something that, people talk about, like, oh, you built, like, all this meter and doing, X, Y, Z, but it's just like, that's not your problem. That's something that you're putting in your own panic. You're like, oh, he's building all this meter, and you're getting panicky over it, and you're freaking out about it, and it makes you do things that you shouldn't do strategically in the context of the game.
Before you've even made a move.
Exactly. You're putting an extra panic on. This is something I learned in Street Fighter. I used to play with Ken, and this was a HD remix. I would play with Ken. I don't know if I've been over this. I think I have been over this, actually. I was watching DGV play. I was playing against a DJ player, I think it was. No, it was someone that was out-zoning me. It was a Ryu player. And I was just like, how the fuck do you handle Ryu? He just fucking fireballs all day, and I jump and I fucking get uppercutted. I can't believe this is working. And they just have like a rhythm to you, and I was like, why? I was like, they have this rhythm that I can't fucking beat. They're literally only doing special moves, or maybe they're just throwing out a normal here and there. But it was just predominantly just getting hit by fireballs and fucking uppercut. And I was like, I can't believe I'm falling for this. And I watched DGV play this, it wasn't DG, it was it was a really good Ken player. God, I can't remember his name, but anyway. So I watched him play the same person. I think they were playing against DGV. And he would just block the fireballs. Yeah, I have been over this, actually, yeah. Like maybe the first or second episode.
Mm.
And
I think I remember this, yeah.
Yeah, and he would just block them. And the amount of damage he was taking was so minimal for just blocking the fireballs, as opposed to just, doing hard reads and just trying to jump and doing a hard read and trying to just, run in real quick on that moment of hesitation where you think that they think that they're going to look for a jump in DP. It's just like, if you just sit in the fray for a fucking minute and not worry and actually not fucking care about the 1 or 2% chip damage that you're taking and realize that they're the ones that are actually making the big risk there and not you, that's a huge step in just not getting frustrated by zoning or someone who, maybe they outfoots you a little bit and you got to weave in and out of their space. But ultimately, just don't worry about. God, you can eat so much chip damage. You really can. Like, how much chip damage did we see Forever King take from Tekken Master?
Or Samij.
Yeah. Like, nothing is worse than just taking extra damage from the zoning, because then getting hit by one of those, like, one projectile was you blocking like 4 fucking 5 of them, and those 4 or 5 of them you could have jumped and just destroyed. So I don't know. I'm just preaching patience, I guess. You know what I mean?
What I saw on Twitter was that people now, like, the new argument, like, again from some of the top players was like, oh, there shouldn't be death by chip in this game, and they need to do something about the chip damage. Now the chip damage is out of control, which is, to me, again, you're barking up the wrong tree. Like, whatever problem you think exists, I don't think it has to do with the chip damage. It's a lot.
Yeah. First it was 50-50s, and they toned down the 50-50s, and now it's chip. And it's just like, how far are we going to go with this?
Yeah, I think that's
where
always
are we
going to
draw the line?
When will it be enough? Like, the answer, never. Like, you're never not going to find something to complain about. So I think you have to draw a line.
Even Street Fighter, fucking throw shimmy. Oh, dude, it's so dumb. Just throw shimmy. It's so dumb. Lose over half my life because I got shimmy. Like every form of offense, people are gonna fucking rage about. And the bottom line,
and every form of defense, they're just it's it's that frustration. And the problem is with social media, there is no nuance to these conversations. There's just anger out into the world, and then deal with it.
Yeah, it's like when I was playing, Tekken, and it was all nothing but ogres and Mishimas. Like, you'd see it on the forums, like, people complain about it, but not that. But it wasn't just everyone. Like, it was only the scrubs that seemed to complain about it. Top players didn't complain about it, and if they did, it was just like, within their own little crews or something like that. And the main attitude, at least from the people I was playing with, was, how are we going to beat these top characters? It wasn't, oh, these characters are so dumb. Derp, fucking devil, derp, true ogre, doing Half-Life or whatever. It was, someone pick up these characters so we know how to deal with them. And I won for 2 straight years playing mid-tier characters because I knew how to play against the top-tier characters so fucking good. Because was so lucky. I was so blessed to play with some of the best Mishima players and ogre players in the country. It was awesome. And and people need to realize that. Like, yeah, there's going to be super strong characters. You're going to learn how to fight against it. Or you're going to die by them.
Yeah, and then why you didn't make any money, why you didn't place, it's all going to be on... It's ultimately on you.
Right.
So don't, again, this is not to say that you can't think Injustice has problems. As I've noted, I do think there are fundamental issues that are going to rub people the wrong way, stuff like that. But ultimately, you could play those characters. There's nothing stopping you from doing that.
Nothing you can't handle.
People don't want to hear that. Because people, again, that's another sign of, what's quote-unquote a bad game is that, well, I have to play these characters. But then it's like, okay, but that ignores the idea that now optimal play is better than it's ever been.
Right.
It's not like what changed was the average player getting a lot better, not that the games are now so bad that you have to pick one character. It would have happened in 2001, I imagine, like in Tekken Tag, if everyone knew through Twitter how to, Korean backdash or whatever, and how to wave dash. Do you think there wouldn't have been tons of people playing Mishimas?
Probably,
or what have you? Whatever's top. Yeah, exactly. I just think it's or picking the best characters because it's easier, than trying to play, a mid-level character.
Right.
It just is, and I think.
And I would have beat them too. Fuck them.
Yeah, and if you don't like it, then I think you're in the wrong game. Not just Injustice 2, but I mean like the fighting game business.
Right.
Like that's just you have to deal with the idea that when people want to win and when the strategies are known, it's much easier to pick up that really strong character and do work with them than choosing to. But that's on you. And if you don't like it, you don't have to play. You don't have to. But don't bullshit us about it. That's all I'm asking. Well, like I said, we've been going pretty long. And,
don't be a pussy.
Whoa, I didn't use language like that, but
that's what I'm saying. Don't
fun episode. Good to be back and doing it. I don't condone this language, folks.
What?
If you have, I'm just saying. I
can't say pussy.
I wash my hands of this. So, we're gonna get the videos out there. I may release the MP3 early because again, we are kind of getting to the end of the week here. We'll see what's up. Look forward to Viennality. Look forward to Evo.
As we record this, we actually have to do the videos soon.
Yeah, probably. That's probably a good idea. But as always, you can follow us on Twitter at Slipkicks, at KingHippo42. Go to TYM. We ask for content there. YouTube comments, anything like that. We do want to hear your feedback. I know the sound wasn't good on the last time. I think I got it this time. I'll do what I can to improve the show. I know Slips is going to do it too. Raptor, who's doing God's work. I mean, I don't think there's any flaws with what he's been doing.
Yeah, he's awesome.
All thanks go to him. But until next time, I'm King Hippo.
Slips.
Peace.
Peace.